Hello and welcome to a very spooky episode of the Full Force Freakly, brought to you by GeneralsJoes Reborn.com with me, Christopher McLeod AKA FrightFeatures80. For today's terrifying episode, I am joined by the petrified Patrick Mirror Universe Notpicard Stewart and Justin GeneralsJoes Hell. We also have a few trick-or-treaters coming over, including Carson 3D Joe's Mataxis, who joins us to chat about the recent O-Ring announcement, and Brian Assembly Required Sauer, who will be updating us on everything AR. In this Vampiric video series, we round up all the week's nasty news in the world of G.I. Joe. What is it, lads?
Go, Pat.
I was waiting on Justin. It's the Full Force Weekly.
Hey, it was easy. I was expecting
Freakly.
Oh, Freakly.
It's the Full Force Freakly, yes.
It's the Full Force Freakly, okay.
Hang on. Hang on. There we go. Hair's still big, which is good. Okay, I'm back in the game. There we go. I'm surprised I'll get away with the hair today, I think.
You got so much product in there, it doesn't even move.
Flops back
you
up.
Put the helmet on and put it back up. It's like sculpted. Not even hair.
I've got some spare hats just in case it wasn't going to turn out all right. I've got a nice one with a tiger on it. Look, it's actually a Mizzou hat. It's a Mizzou hat, but I figured, Tiger Force makes sense, and obviously the orange Toys R Us would go nicely with the orange. So just in case.
I don't have any costumes, and you've got like 5.
I've got a
just
whole
within arm's reach
area of stuff to kind of change into. Yes, so the memo went out yesterday of, hey guys, we're doing a Halloween special. Wear something kooky and cool. And then everyone was like, cough. I was like, all right, then fine. Just me then. Justin, obviously.
No,
go on.
I'm putting my gloves on, so I'm in disguise as either a street fighter or a gym person, I guess.
You're an MMA fighter. Brilliant.
Yeah. There we go. I'm in costume, all right? You happy?
Spooky.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, you've got the kind of like, is it Edgar Allan Poe thing going on there? Like they've got the old...
Yeah, sure. Close the Night Raven. Nevermore.
Brilliant. So happy Halloween then, I guess, because obviously this is recorded 2 days prior to going out, but yeah, it will be Halloween today, so happy Halloween to everybody. As you can see, I'm slightly decked out in an odd fashion. Some of you may recognise it. If you don't, then I don't know what to tell you. It's Tiger Force. What is it, Justin?
Hit and run.
There you go. Tiger Force.
Anybody who doesn't recognize it should be ashamed of themselves.
And yeah, stop, unsubscribe,
unfollow. Get out of here.
Keep going.
We got no room for you. Out.
So we had probably one of the most ridiculous weeks again, didn't we? This was like up there with probably like your Yojo Junes followed by your Yojo Julys in terms of just incredible reveals and all sorts. We will obviously jump on that. Justin and I have obviously already done a big video on the reveals, but we thought we'd get Pat in to give his 2 cents as well. And also, there was another event that happened in the week. So, loads to talk about, lads. It's been ridiculous again, hasn't it?
Yeah. It has, for sure. It's been a crazy week.
Also, do you like your nicknames for the show? Pat, we've used yours before, the Mirror Universe Notpicard, which makes you... What does that make? It's like a triple negative almost, isn't it?
Yeah, I almost just shaved down to a goatee last night, but I thought I shouldn't.
That would have been
That was what I was called. It would have been perfect.
Oh, I don't know. We don't put enough thought into this show, do we? We just record it with no prep whatsoever, he says. Right.
Talk about all the things I almost did.
Yeah, let's do that. You almost wore a Christmas sweater, didn't you, Pat? That's
right. It would have been. I would have been the creepy holiday that's coming too early.
That would have been fine. I also would have been terrified. I always get terrified of seeing Christmas stuff because then all the stress and anxiety kind of start building up, and it's like,
oh man,
oh yeah, you've got to buy thousands and thousands of dollars of presents for everybody you know, and it's like,
or just me, and then everybody else gets like coal or whatever. You can just buy thousands of dollars of things for me.
Just get you
fine.
Carded Tiger Force hit and runs.
Would that alleviate your stress at all? I mean, I'm just thinking about you. If you want to reduce the stress level,
I'll just send you the money. I'll just send you the money. How does that sound? Yeah,
even better. All right, perfect. Glad that's settled.
Right. Well, enough of the preamble banter. Let's get into the news, guys, because it's been absolutely bonkers this week. Starting with Pulsecon Reveals news. earthy, chesty way of saying that. Yes, last weekend saw a bevy of incredible reveals from the G.I. Joe brand team at Pulsecon 2021, including a first look at the standard deco classified Bat, reveals and pre-orders for Spirit and Storm Shadow, the new Target exclusive Tiger Force and Python Patrol theme, with reveals and pre-orders for Tiger Force Outback, Python Patrol Bat, and Python Patrol Viper, as well as a huge O-Ring revival announcement led by a Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow version 1 2-pack, and a Sky Striker HasLab project. Now, Justin and I jumped on a recording shortly after the event, and you can watch that on the channel for some in-depth analysis on the reveals, aka both of us just gushing over some great stuff. But I wanted to speak to you about this as well, Pat. First off, let's talk about the O-Ring reveal, because I know that's something that's right up your Strasser. How did you feel about that?
That's honestly some of the most exciting news that I've heard in a long time. Whenever you really think about it, it's been more than a decade since we've had O-Ring figures. Because the last thing that we had was
just makes me feel
Red
old.
Shadows set in 2010.
Just make me feel old.
So
thanks.
I am head over heels excited about this stuff. I jotted down a bunch of thoughts that I had actually.
Right. Point 1.0. Go. Subsection 3.
Well, I think that they've done a really nice job on the designs. I'm curious to see how they come out. There's a lot of stuff that I'm just curious to see what it looks like whenever it's done.
Rivets.
Rivets are one of the big ones. I'm curious to see how they, because sourcing rivets seems to be difficult just for customs and for.
It's because Hasbro bought them all like a couple of years before they designed all these O-Ring figures. They're like, we'll have all the rivets.
So. Yeah, but. Like, if you look at Storm Shadow's elbows whenever he was, they were spinning him around on the in-person one, they were kind of painted over.
Right.
So I wasn't sure what that was about. But then if you looked at the carded ones that were actually up for on the pre-order page for Hasbro Pulse, they looked relatively normal, but the shoulders looked like they were maybe countersunk a little bit more than they used to be, which is fine. But, as long as they're nice and sturdy. The other thing that I'm kind of wondering about, because Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow don't have like a flesh tone head. I remember back to the Anti-Venom set Dukes. Like sometimes when they were doing the figures, the O-Ring figures from the the 2000s era, they would paint on the flesh tone. And I think a plastic base really is important for some of that. So I'm just curious to see how the execution of some of these is whenever they end up coming out. But I'm really excited. Like, I really hope we hit our stretch goals. What is that thing up to right now?
4,000 something and something and something, I believe.
It was at 4,000 last time I looked, but it's been like a day or so.
Yeah, they've been quite steady.
Every once in a while.
This has been happening with the HasLabs, hasn't it? Like it's at 4,549, so it has actually gone up a little bit since yesterday too. But this is the kind of thing with HasLabs that I've noticed, even from the most, the biggest ones, or the ones that, you think will just instantly fund. They do hit like an early kind of burst, much like Kickstarters. Then there's a massive drop off. There's like a real like lull going all the way up until like the last couple of days. And then it just explodes. And the last day, I mean, I know a couple of HasLabs in recent years that have just gone from like, barely getting to the funding to at the end of the last day, and then the end of the last day they've hit all of the stretch goals. So like, I just get the feeling that this is probably going to follow a very similar path. I do see it being able to fund. Is there enough in the community, do you reckon, Justin? I'll ask you this question, to reach 18,000 backers though?
I'm trying to remain optimistic. I'm not sure. I will say the immediate kind of acceleration was a very pleasant surprise. I wasn't expecting, a few days after our announcement to be at 4,500 backers already. So that was already a pretty nice surprise. Is there enough for 18,000? That could be tough. I don't know precisely what the number of backers there were for stuff like the Sentinel or the Razor Crest. I don't remember what the actual number was for those. But I struggle with seeing a G.I. Joe product having that same sort of breadth of backing from the fandom. I think, although clearly, my opinion isn't quite on target because, like I said, I never would have expected to be at 4,500 already.
Yeah.
With still, almost 40 days left for funding. So I've been very pleasantly surprised so far, crossing my fingers that I continue to be very pleasantly surprised. I do think folks have been underestimating a little bit kind of the appeal of this retro style G.I. Joe, as the brand has sort of languished, in the past, 10 years or so. There's clearly a contingent of fans out there that are fiercely loyal to the O-ring style, that are very attached to the nostalgia that G.I. Joe presents, and this is really hitting a lot of those people. And those are probably people that aren't buying classified, that didn't buy a lot of the modern era stuff because it wasn't strictly what they grew up with. So I think the notoriety of HasLab, kind of the resurgence of this kind of nostalgia fueled collectors mentality is really helping it. And plus they've got all those extra pieces and parts, and I'm thinking that the additional O-ring figures representing characters that have never been made before are driving some of this as well. And that's why I really hope we do get to that 18,000, because that's such a huge reason of why I'm backing the Sky Strikers, to get that flight crew and
Night Force Ripcord and
Night Force Ripcord. Yeah, I mean, it's so I'm really excited to see some of that stuff. So I hope they are out there. I'm still a little bit hesitant to get too optimistic yet, but I'm holding out hope.
Good. Let's all get ridiculous and overly excited about it. Pat, you're going to say something. I can see it.
I was going to say that I'm curious about Scarlet. Like, is the deco of that based on the pilot Scarlet that came out on the 25th?
I figured.
Which was based on Glenda?
Yep. I thought
is it directly based on Glenda? That's kind of one of the things I'm just
but that's like, that's kind of, I don't know, it's the one and the same effectively, isn't it? Like, I know
it is one and the same effectively, but
you want to know, did the designer go,
I want to know,
I'm going to do this as Glenda rather than I'm going to do this as the 25th ring? Yeah, it's
right, because I'm curious I'm mostly curious because of what that may mean for future releases.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly who's responsible for the O-ring for this stuff. I don't know if it's still Lenny and that same crew or not, but depending on how deep they are into the fandom, maybe they might have just done a Google search for Pilot Scarlet and saw this figure that was influenced by Glenda and decided to kind of use it as an homage. But I would hope, like Pat said, that maybe it was a direct homage of Glenda herself, and that may lead to other more direct homages of some of those foreign figures.
We'll talk about something else in a little while about foreign homage. So it's certainly not one of those things where they're not clued up, shall we say, about a lot of this stuff. But it's probably the same thing. I don't know about every single Brazilian release, right? But if something comes out with an homage in it, I'll research it. I'll go, oh, that was based on what? Cool, I'll check that out. And then, oh yeah, crap. So I've done that in the past where I haven't been like 100% clued up on certain things, or I knew about it very vaguely, but what was that one? I think it's one of the Force Affaira figures that I thought was a repaint of someone else, and it turns out to be a repaint of like Repeater or something like that. And I was like, or it's like a mixture of different bits. I can't remember which one it was, but there's one of those where I in my head, it was a repaint of a different figure. And then when it kind of came, when you started seeing more about it, doing a bit more research into the Tiger Force kind of stuff elsewhere, I'm like, oh crap, I didn't even know that was a repaint of that particular character. So I've done it, and I would say I'm fairly knowledgeable in the world of G.I. Joe and Action Force and foreign releases and stuff. But yeah, the other thing is as well, I don't really mind, because I know that it could be the fact that the designer went, right, what can we do in terms of a Scarlet pilot? And then looked and saw that, oh yeah, there was one we did in the 25th. That was homaging something. Let's check that out. So they may have just gone that way. That might have been their level of knowledge about it, and they might have gone all the way back there. I guess we'll never know until we find out who designed it, and then, where they're... Yeah, and I'll ask Lenny some of these questions as well, because being part of the team, we're going to speak to him very soon, and I get the feeling he's been involved in this.
I also am wondering, they're showing Wayne Ruffle, which I thought was a wonderful idea for adding a character. That was a brilliant move. I mean, clearly on the box it was intended to be airborne, but only his helmet showing, you definitely get away with making a new character and basing it on the name that's on the side of the Sky Striker. But I'm wondering, Is he just going to be called Wayne Ruffle, or are they going to give him a code name?
I don't think he's been given a code name, but how funny would it be if it was something... I think I gave you a list, didn't I? It was like Second String, Afterthought, what was it? Which I quite liked Afterthought, because it was like, you expected me to go Burn, Afterburn, no, Afterthought. And what was the other one? I think the other one was Sloppy Seconds, which this is a family show, so I will edit that one out. But yeah, I'm the same as you. I thought like he could definitely do with a code name, but I don't know if they're going to do that. I mean, it would make sense because that's the format, isn't it? It's code name, file name, etc., etc.
Yeah, as well as some of the crew, some of the other figures shown that didn't necessarily have code names. Are they going to get them? I'm really kind of curious about that. Also curious.
Give me a name. Give me a name for one of the pit crew.
Have one.
Pointy. Pointy and wavy. Goose. I think I call Wayne Ruffle Goose in one of those in the list because it's like we know why. Spoiler alert for the Top Gun fans or not fans who haven't seen the movie.
I was gonna say if you're a fan and you haven't seen the movie in the last 30 years.
Spoiler alert.
Goose dies.
Oh, Justin! At least I didn't say that. Pat didn't know either. This is the worst Halloween ever. Halloween is about being good to people and being... It's the spirit of giving. Anyway,
I'm
yes.
so sorry.
Now this is trick instead of treat.
There you go.
Hey, trick or treat. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah.
Well, there's your flight crew right there. Trick and treat.
Perfect. Done. Okay, sorted. Pat, what were you saying before I rudely interrupted you about 5 times?
Also curious about the names on the side of the Sky Striker because I noticed that they had shortened Ace's name to
J.
And this is a decal. It's on the decal sheet as far as what they showed.
Captain J. Armbruster.
Shortened to J. Armbruster.
Yeah.
Which I thought was weird because in the file card, he's Brad J. Armbruster. But then I noticed on the art for the box for the original Sky Striker, like the original art, his name is listed as J. Brad Armbruster. So they've dropped his first name because it appeared second on the art. I don't know.
There could be some confusion there. I think they would have been better. Yeah. Maybe there's an issue legally with the way that it's written on the original. Maybe there's an issue with something else that we don't know of. I mean, that could be something they said, like, we can't have it this way. We've got to have it a different way. So they decided to do that. But yeah, it's Ace is the most confusing name scenario since what's his name? Who has the same name? Is it Airwave? Has the same name as
well, Ace's name also appeared in Humanoids. Is that what you're thinking of?
No. There's literally a double use of the same file name in the file cards for G.I. Joe, and it's...
Yeah, I don't think it's Ace.
Airwave and someone else. I can't remember. No, it's not Ace. I was saying who it was Airwave and someone else. Cliff Mewett is his name.
Oh, yeah, that is Colonel Courage.
And it's Colonel Courage. Okay, I was right. Yes, get in. All right, carry on, Pat, you were saying?
And the other thing about the Sky Striker that I think was cool is they mentioned the refueling panel, and you can see it actually on the gray model that they were spinning around. I think they probably didn't want to break it and open it. Then on the side opposite of the panel, of the refueling panel, it looks like there's another panel, and I'm curious what that may be for, because I noticed that there were other differences that they didn't mention, like I don't think they mentioned the intakes. They're actual sculpting now inside there.
Yep.
And they added a gun. Now there's a gun on both sides of the front of the Sky Striker.
A more kind of formed camera kind of beneath the nose cone, too, that's a little bit more prominent.
So that makes a lot of sense, because that could fit in the same hole. There was a hole on the front of the Sky Striker that became convenient for towing it on the USS Flag.
Yeah.
It was just already there. And it almost looks like that's about the spot where that would go. And
there's also the wings and the landing gear separate as well. That's
I love
that
big
too. Move.
That you can spread the wings and do the landing gear apart from each other rather than
combined. The artillery vehicle, you can actually see that the attachment to hold the missiles and artillery can be changed out for the engine cover, similar to the original USS Flag. Like that engine cover, I didn't know what it was, but it was kind of in the back corner.
Oh yeah,
while they were spinning it around. And so it's interesting that you can it looks like you can't sit a figure in it, in the tow vehicle, but that the tow vehicle is kind of there.
Yeah, it's there's loads of cool extras to this. Like the flight stand is gorgeous. The fact that you can like move it around and you can put missiles on the side to make it look like the missiles are coming off the wings and like, you know, like in flight, like going off. I mean, that's really cool. I think that's a lovely touch. And the fact that you can really position it in all sorts of cool, dynamic ways is just next level, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this. This, like I said, I love the 6-inch stuff, but this is really what I'm excited for because there's been such a resurgence of retro action figures, and really nobody's doing like new O-ring figures.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see.
Yeah.
Or at least not yet. I think that some people have some stuff coming.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Independent.
I'm excited to
stuff,
see Hasbro actually bring back G.I. Joe in this format.
Absolutely. Okay, right. Well, obviously, we're going to be speaking to. Well, I will be speaking to a Carson of 3D Joes later in the show, and we go into a lot of detail on that as well. So you're going to get it twice. So you can just skip through our bit if you want, which is too late now if you've already watched it. So there you go. Tough. You're going to get it twice. Moving on within this particular chat, obviously there were a bevy of classified reveals as well. This is probably the biggest amount of reveals I've ever seen the G.I. Joe brand team bust out. You know, no one was expecting a frigging HasLab. That was just completely just blew everyone's minds. We were aware there was a 375 figure pack coming. Like, we knew that months ago. We just didn't know what the hell it was. And we were thinking maybe retro. And then obviously we got Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow in that vinyl 2-pack of the reissued O-Ring scenario, which is fantastic. So, but on top of that, how many classified figures, not counting 1027, which we'll talk about in the next segment, but like you had 3 new Target figures and you had 3 new standard editions, right? We had one just revealed, which was the Bat, and absolutely stunning, I've got to admit. Let's start with the Bat because that was just beautiful, wasn't it? I mean, Justin, take it away. What were your thoughts on the Bat?
Oh yeah, I mean it was amazing. It was obviously there's been kind of leaks and hints and stuff that a Bat was coming, but seeing it kind of in full deco, posed out in a couple of different images and kind of on the screen was really incredible. And I really like some of the different changes they made. You know, the shield for his chest plate, you know, the battle damaged head, stuff like that. And what's really cool that I'm really loving that I'm seeing with some of these 6-inch figures is they're taking some inspiration from the 25th anniversary stuff, because it was the 25th anniversary that really gave us, number one, you know, both hands being swappable, the battle damaged head, all sorts of stuff like that. So
the new backpack as well, which had that kind of little extra bit on the side to
I'm kind of hoping that they maybe not necessarily revisit the Bat, but they consider sort of like maybe enhancement sets or something. I would have loved to have seen some non-vintage arm attachments, you know, some really going crazy with the 6-inch scale, really nuts sort of like additional tools and weapons and stuff.
Like
exactly. Yeah, I mean, you read my mind. But no, like I don't know, like a chain gun, or like, I mean, I don't know, or the modern era Bat had that, or not, the New Skull Bat had that big long sword. That was pretty cool. There's a lot of stuff they could do with it, and I kind of wished they did some of that stuff. I think, you know, I've said in past shows that I almost feel like sometimes I lean on the vintage a little bit too heavily, but I think there's some potential for additional accessory kits, or maybe a deluxe Bat at some point that's got all these different attachments and stuff.
I think we'll get things like, you know, like a jungle one, right? And it'll come with like a chainsaw attachment, or like, you know, or like a weed whacker or something. They could probably use that with Pathfinder down the path.
Mm-hmm.
In the future as well. But like, yeah, that's where I could see more additional attachments coming in, like the Nano they could do, the Inferno Bat. Inferno. Pat, what were you going to say before I interrupted you again?
I think something that Lenny said made me hopeful that we will get all the stuff Justin was talking about, because I totally agree with Justin. And he was saying that he's totally thought out all of the internal appearance of the Bat's head, when he was making sure that the battle damage made sense, because you don't want to just battle damage it and then just put an eyeball there and call it a day. You know, you want to have figured out what it's going to look like should you do future releases, I think. So one of my wishes has always been Build-A-Figure Bats, because if you did Build-A-Figure Bats, if you end up with a couple extra arms, that's cool. Battle damaged Bats laying around the battlefield. So I don't know if G.I. Joe will ever get into Build-A-Figure territory, But even if they didn't, some modular parts, even, some shoulders that would pop off in addition to the arms, just makes sense to build a bat that way. And I do agree, having some of those other attachments in another release would be cool. Last week, I said that I kind of thought that we would get two very different bats between the Python Patrol one and the regular one. I was incorrect in my guess, but I did notice that there was still a little bit of a hint of that design from Operation Blackout on the feet of the bat. He no longer has like the claws on his toes, but like that special or that new armored area up top on the top of the foot, that's definitely there in Operation Blackout. So it's interesting also to look at it and see how it may have evolved. And I kind of hope that we will get something like Justin said, some other parts. That is one that you could revisit several times.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And people will buy it. Yeah.
What I did notice there's no battle damaged head with the Target exclusive, with the Python Patrol one, which is I'm gonna confirm some of this, but I don't think that actually comes with it. And I believe also the Viper, which we can talk about next because we've covered both bats. The Viper doesn't come with the scarf either, or it doesn't look like the scarf comes with him. So, which I think is like, if they don't actually have that in there, which it could be behind the cardboard, the piece of artwork on there, could still be in that package somewhere. But I would think that would be a bit of a misstep, because I'd like that extra, that kind of extra color break, or that extra little kind of flourish on the Viper. I think it really does make them look kind of cool and interesting. And maybe they've done it to differentiate a little bit, I don't know, but I just wanted to point those things out, because I think that was something I noticed on the packaging images. And also a packaging image of the standard bat popped up earlier today, so we've posted that on our socials if you want to check it out. But that again looks that the standard version is absolutely packed with stuff, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, it definitely is.
What were your thoughts on the Viper, Pat?
Yeah, I thought it looked great. Scaling things up, one of the other things that I kind of was wondering how they would do is translate that original Python Patrol deco to a 6-inch figure. Seemed like maybe they were going to need to do something more textured. And I think Lenny even said he wondered if that would work at that scale. So I don't know. I was kind of surprised how they did manage to make it work, but they also worked in a little bit more color, like around the frame of the visor on the Viper. So I think it looks good. They're definitely good figures.
Yeah, it's a beauty for me, I think. And Justin, we've already talked about this, so we just might as well just poke Pat every 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Pat, take us through. What do you think of Tiger Force Outback? Because obviously that was great.
I really like it. I think that not going with the simplified cat design works, and he comes across as being the Tiger Force fan, just like we've discussed before. It's a good figure. I think that the white hair, they really handled that very well, kind of giving it a little bit of a grayish color rather than just bright white. They've done a nice job once again.
Let's move on to Spirit then. Pat, thoughts on Spirit?
So glad to see him in the line and this early. I thought that the way that they handled Freedom, because I had no idea how they were going to handle it.
Yeah,
I didn't know if it was going to come with two different ones, or if they would just do the standard old wing spread and not have them tucked in, which doesn't really work for whenever Freedom is perched on Spirit that well. But the way that they handled it, it looks really good.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that one.
Having two sets of wings. Having two sets of wings makes a lot of sense as well, doesn't it? Because even if you did have them articulated, you're still it would probably look awkward if they're folded down by his side. So you've really got to get a nice spread out kind of wing for the actual flight mode, and that would have been super ridiculous to super articulate that.
Yeah, I think that's
feathered joints all the way around.
Individual feathers the whole way. I wonder how much motion the wings have, because they had them off of Freedom whenever they were doing the demo, and they do look like they're on ball joints.
Yeah, they definitely are. They definitely are. And also like the fact that they got in a lot of indigenous people as well, in and around this, and they consulted a lot of people on this. Kind of took some of the more offensive stereotypical elements out of the design, and you still get this really good Spirit, don't you? This really Immediately identifiable, brilliantly designed, expertly executed figure, and another animal companion for me. So I'm really happy about this. What were your thoughts about Storm Shadow, by the way, Pat?
I was happy to see Storm Shadow. There are a couple of things I was really wondering how close he would resemble the one that we saw in like that sticker set and on the T-shirts and everything that we kind of saw of the art that has come out so far. And I was actually doing some comparison. The only thing that I can tell that looks like it's the same is the bandolier and the belt.
Yeah.
And actually, the knees from it look like they may have ended up on the bat. I don't know if that's true or not.
Interesting.
But
it is interesting.
But it's nice that they did like a head to toe, new figure is what it looks like. I also thought it was really interesting because whenever there's a new Storm Shadow figure, there's always a little bit of a difference between the original figure that had short sleeves and the way that he was usually depicted as having, no sleeves.
Shoulder pad sleeves.
At all.
Yeah.
And if you look, it looks like he had them and he tore them off. So I think that it was just such a fun way of making that figure. I don't know if it's implying that he tore off some short sleeves or if they were, it was just something else entirely. But it's just fun to see that.
I'm just glad they keep the 80s shoulder pads thing going. Like everyone was in the NFL in the 80s, it felt like.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we had Croc Master. And, I mean, for me, that was another, wow kind of moment. And I will be asking Emily if she actually meant to make a mistake at that point. If that was, done on purpose as a segue. Because it was the most awesome segue ever, where she's they were going through all their favourite reveals or something so far, and she said something like, "Oh, Fiona for me." And everyone's looking at her we haven't revealed Fiona yet. And everyone watching, bar a few of us who did know the crocodile's name prior to the event, I'm sure everyone was going, who the fudge is Fiona? Right. Who is she talking about? And then to pull out Croc Master with that, I mean, that was just hilarious. Really good segue. She was claiming it was an error, but I'm going to ask her for reals if that was a mistake.
I think it was planned. I'm going to bet on planned.
It was too smooth. The whole G.I. Joe team are probably the smoothest when it comes to these events, aren't they?
They know the questions in advance. They know them. She knows that her turn was last and that was coming up next. I think that it was planned.
Well, we will definitely force her to tell us on the show. When I speak to them on the 4th, I'll be speaking to Lenny and Emily on the 4th of November. Hopefully we'll be able to get it to you, edited and stuff quickly afterwards as well. And then we've got another interview with Lenny and Corey coming following that. So lots of cool stuff to look forward to from the Hasbro team on the Full Force podcast. Did you like the Croc Master?
Oh, come on. Yeah, that thing looked amazing. The addition of the meat hook, I thought
meat hook. We didn't talk about that, did we, Justin? We didn't talk about the meat hook.
I don't think we did. No.
Go on,
Pat.
Pat.
Trying to give Croc Master a little bit more of a brutal attitude toward the Crocs, which I don't imagine he'd be a friendly Steve Irwin. He would be not a great guy, and it's kind of interesting to me. And the way that the Croc's mouth looks when it's open. It looks really good. I could see people buying multiples of them just to get multiple.
Yeah, just to get loads of higher level Schleich crocodile figures.
I will admit, when I saw that hook, I kind of thought maybe it was a reference to Captain Hook. He got his hand eaten off by the crocodile, and maybe he'd be able to put it on Croc Master's wrist. But I don't think that's what they had in mind. But
I gave a big shout out to Jackie Jennings at the time, Justin. But I thought her pun on Fiona Applegator was probably the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. So thanks for that, Jackie. That was amazing. And also we can't really move on until we talk about Georgie and Diablo, because I forgot Diablo's name when we discussed this. More animal companions that you wouldn't have suspected, but little baby crocodiles. Isn't that great? It's they're building again the story of Croc Master breeding these things and training them up to be these weapons for Cobra, basically.
Yeah. I always picture him keeping Cobra Island from having people just land a boat on it.
Was it Civil War where he waves them off as they drive off the island? It was, wasn't it?
So, yeah.
They're like waving at Croc Master as they leave the G.I. Joe team. It's so funny. I always remember that panel. He's just like that, and the Crocs are around him, just like, all right, see ya. I do think that, and I'm always reminded of the Action Force annual comic story where Jinx invades Extensive Enterprises through the sewer, and the first person she meets is Croc Master in his Crocs, and it's called High Finance. It's really, really awesome story, because it's like you think it's going to be like something completely different, the story, and it ends up just, she's just after some admin. But anyway, check that out if you haven't read it. Blood for the Baron, I've got it on scans. Right then, that is, I think, more or less, Pulse quickly, because obviously we wanted to get Pat's thoughts and all that stuff. Now we can get everyone's thoughts on some 1027 news.
You should have segued by being like, so what was your favorite thing? Oh, alley fight.
Done, perfect. So, following hot on the... We haven't revealed him yet, Pat. Following hot on the heels of the weekend's amazing reveals, that rhymes, we had another event to look forward to on Wednesday. The Hasbro Pulse Premium 1027 event featured even more reveal goodness, with a look at the classified Cobra Officer and the long-awaited debut of the Alley Viper. Both figures were revealed on the day, but only the Cobra Officer was available for pre-order, with the Alley Viper most likely getting caught up in the same production issues with the standard Bat. It was a really fun surprise, as a lot of us weren't expecting yet more reveals so soon for the already stacked 2022 lineup. All the box artwork shown from the two events went up on Shop Trends as posters as well, and the list is TF Outback, or Tiger Force Outback, is Hartley Combs, Python Patrol Viper is Anthony Petrie, Python Patrol Bat and Standard Bat is Mohammed Firdaus, Spirit Iron Knife is Jeffrey Veregge. Shout out to Jeffrey Veregge as well, who's going through some awful stuff at the moment, which we'll talk about in the shout outs. Storm Shadow, Yuko Shimizu, Croc Master Luke Priest, and of course I think it was Francois Coutu who was the artist on the Cobra Officer, and Tom Whelan who did the Alley Viper and Master of Disguise Zartan. Right, guys, this was great. Coming back to Justin now, because we haven't spoken to Justin for a little while now on these reveals. Cobra Officer, he leaked a little bit early on, but how do you think that was as a figure? Take us through him.
I really like it. I like that there's a lot, he obviously, one look at him and you can tell he's kind of from the same squad as the Cobra Troopers, but if you take closer looks, he is almost a completely different figure. I mean, he's got a lot of different parts to him. I was a little concerned because I really loved the Cobra Trooper a lot, and a lot of that was because they didn't, they weren't adhering totally to the vintage look. They've kind of gotten away from that a little bit, and I was worried that when they did the Cobra Officer, maybe they'd lean back on that vintage look, since their mindset has kind of changed since they did the Cobra Trooper. But I think they did a great job. They did clearly use the vintage version as reference, but I think they still did a great job keeping it relatively modern. And I'm really kind of pleasantly surprised at how successfully they bridged the vintage look with the modern, classified Cobra Trooper. I think it's great. And it makes sense for the officer to maybe be not quite as heavily armored as the Trooper, because he's not going to be necessarily on the front lines like the Trooper would be. But kind of the way just some subtle call outs. He has the gray pouch on his kind of web gear. He's got the circular buckle that is kind of very evocative of the officer. He's got, obviously the crest on his helmet.
The chevron.
The chevron, yes, that's the more appropriate term.
Can I also add, he's got tush pockets, which is the technical term that Emily used on the stream, which I'm going to, again, ask her that question. Is tush pockets the official... if we'd have got this as a vintage figure on the key on the back, would it have said, like pointing at the back, tush pockets? That's what I want to know.
Absolutely should.
We asked the important questions on the Full Force podcast here, guys.
And I love that he's got kind of that sling on his back for the rifle. The AK-47 sort of with the removable magazine is really awesome touch. Clearly they have moved away from the sci-fi futuristic weapons, and they're going back to sort of the more
removable magazines as well.
Yeah, and you can tell he's got a little hole in his barrel potentially for future blast effects maybe, or something like that. But yeah, I think the Cobra Officer all told is just a really, really great figure, a nice marriage of the modern classified trooper and kind of the vintage vintage-looking officer.
Absolutely.
So
I think for me,
really happy with it.
Yeah, I think for me the biggest part of that figure is the storage options, because it's great that you can take all the different bits out and put them into different places. Like I really enjoyed that. You know, it's one thing being able to carry all of the gear, but it's another thing being able to take elements of the gear apart and put them in different places. That's like the next level of storage option, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
So like I really enjoyed that kind of aspect of it.
I agree a lot with what Justin was saying. I think it looks great.
Not me, just Justin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just Justin's points.
Yeah.
You're irrelevant, Chris. It's all right.
He's just so rude all the time. He's been in such a bad mood on this Halloween special. I'm just kidding, Pat. Carry on.
No, I think that we can kind of see that the classified line, like Justin was saying, is leaning a little more toward the vintage look of characters in the last several reveals. I think that, though, this line has now shown that it has such longevity to it that it's kind of good, because you can have your ones that look more like the vintage, but I think it does open things up for some reinterpretations of things, because when our figures like Firefly were shown, there was a lot of people that weren't happy with that one because he doesn't look like the original Firefly. I think that if you have both in the line eventually, what's the problem? With Pursuit of Cobra, everybody loves Pursuit of Cobra for good reason. That's an excellent toy line, but I also think that the reason why it had the ability to spread its wings and be what it was the fact that it came on the heels of everybody getting their vintage look. So we got that kind of out of our system, and then we were able to get the other ones.
That is such a good point. I don't think anyone has ever talked about that, about Pursuit of Cobra before. The fact that it was so loved. We talk about it all the time because it was so loved, but I don't think anyone's ever made that connection. I don't personally think I have really thought about it in that way, but that's so true. It has that, you've got your, was it Recondo? You've got your, who else in that? Well, you've got Firefly in the Pursuit of Cobra, haven't you?
Yeah, and he looked entirely different.
So you've got those, those kind of figures coming in, but then it doesn't matter because you've already got those figures in there. Yeah, you're totally right.
That's a great point.
That is a fantastic point. Can I also add to that? I don't think I've known a more positive reaction from the fandom than I did from the last week. I have never in my life seen that many positive comments on YouTube videos, on Facebook posts, on our stuff, not let alone Hasbro's, which usually is just fire and poop emojis with the word target littered in every 5 minutes. So like, and that's just the nice stuff. So I think you're right. I think that the fact that Pursuit of Cobra already had that in it, it could spread its wings because of that already. It's like the opposite way round here for Classified, isn't it?
A little bit, but I think that once we get these, like at this point, if you wanted to release, like if Roadblock had gone in the other order, where we had gotten the most recent Roadblock earlier on, I think that people would have been more receptive to the Cobra Island Roadblock. And I think that the same thing is going to hold true for other things. Like if they release a bat that is just crazy and different, people will be ready for it.
Yeah, totally.
That's probably true maybe of Storm Shadow too, because I know I've kind of complained that we got this vintage Storm Shadow instead of the, in my opinion, kind of cooler looking classified Storm Shadow. But you're very right. Now that we've got this vintage one done, there's nothing stopping them from kind of taking the reins off and going a little crazy with the classified version, because those who want the vintage version have it. And
I hope they do. It's Storm Shadow.
Yeah.
That's a character that we probably would be okay if we were on our 5th one.
Yeah.
Well, they've got to do version 2 first. I need that digital camo, baby. Big time. I've got a funny feeling they might do it as a pretty much just a repaint of the first one with maybe different arms, because you've effectively got the hood, you got the compound bow, the body could probably work. So, maybe a different secondary, but
just need some rope or something that goes over his chest or whatever, and and
then just paint I'm saying that's still about $30,000 worth of tooling, but we'll ignore that bit. I agree with you guys on that, and I can't believe that point came out of that. That's incredible. Anyway, Cobra Officer we were talking about, and obviously that brilliant, very cool, gorgeous artwork as well. We haven't talked about the artwork necessarily a lot on this one, but really just to kind of like briefly talk about it in general, some absolute beauties in there again, aren't there? Some really like off the wall kind of style ones, but then some really like, again, some gorgeous painted ones. Some good stuff coming out of this artwork again, isn't there?
Yeah, no, I mean, the artwork is great. I think for we haven't really talked about the Alley Viper as a figure yet, but
True.
I would have liked to see a little bit grungier artwork for Alley Viper, maybe, a little bit more urban setting, but I mean, the execution of the artwork is fantastic, and that's true all across the board for every one of these releases. And it's almost funny to me to think back to the first wave, and a few of us were kind of complaining, like, I don't know if this different style of artwork per figure is going to work. There's no consistency there. It feels kind of disjarring. But looking back over the breadth of it and all that, you can't even imagine getting a new figure now with the same artist as you've had previously. It's part of what you're really looking forward to see what sort of new style gets brought to the table. And I find myself really excited about upcoming figures just to kind of know what that art might look like. So
they're going to run out of artists soon. They're going to literally deliver like 1,000 figures out, and it's like, right, we've literally got nobody left to do a. Right,
give me a box of crayons.
We'll do.
Let me do hit and run. I'll do hit and run.
We'll do them. We'll draw them for you. Could you imagine that? That would be amazing. Yeah, Chris, this is just a stick figure.
Abysmal.
Stick figure on white paper. It's lined paper. You didn't even use clear paper.
It's
anyway,
abstract. Okay, it's abstract.
I'm just trying something different, Yeah. Anyway, amazing. Alley Viper. Let's get stuck into Alley Viper then. I mean, goodness me, what a stunning reveal that was. One of the things that stood out for me when we saw the leaked images of certain parts for the Alley Viper, they had the shield and they had that little kind of that window on the inside, but it's not a window anymore, is it? It's like a screen. And I was saying at the time, I'd love a tampo on that's like, something really cool, so you can sit like they're looking at like a feed on their shield, so they can kind of like move forward with that. And then we get that what is effectively the intro to Mask stuck on there, which is amazing. So the whole time they're just shooting away, just watching episodes of Mask as they're going. I don't see anything wrong with that at all. Do you?
Yeah, that's what I do all day at work. Why not?
No, I love that 80s grid thing. I think it's gorgeous. I think it's I think it's really nice. Something that they, I think I'd like to see more detail on it, like they did with I think it was the Arc mainframe who turns into Teletran 1 on the Arc, the Titan Transformers vehicle, has some really intricate displays on it, like small but like beautiful, like loads of stuff going on in them. I think that would have been really cool on there, rather than like the basic kind of lines and everything, which is still pretty cool. I think it would have been nice to throw like a little homage in there somewhere, like maybe, I don't know, like Shockwave, or like, someone like on the other side, like firing back kind of thing. I think that would have been wicked.
I think it's an opportunity for somebody to create some decal sets.
There you go.
I'm looking at you then, Justin, with your crayons. Can you do that for me?
Yeah, absolutely. All over it.
What are your thoughts of Alley Viper then? Justin, take it away.
I mean, I think it's fantastic. It's clear that, I think as we all sort of hypothesized, it probably got caught in the same production delays as the Bat, which I think is evident because a lot of times the sort of those leaked images from the factory we saw had both parts in the photographs. So clearly they're kind of in the same process of production. And it looked like, from the early art that we saw on the back of the package, way back when the series first started, and you saw that first hint of Alley Viper, it was definitely built upon the Cobra Trooper body with sort of different secondaries, and it looks like that has changed. So I don't know if that's kind of a result of some of these production delays where they're making it a little bit more unique with the new secondary and obviously a new head and the weapons and stuff. But I think they've taken, again, a lot of cues from the modern era version of Alley Viper, which was kind of built off of 25th anniversary Snake Eyes, where you've got some of the the buckles kind of at the belt, the removable knife at the forearm, very evocative of that Alley Viper. But it looks fantastic. I mean, it's obviously very vintage inspired. I'd be curious to see kind of how the figure functions with that big, huge vest. I suspect it might be a little bit restrictive from an articulation perspective. There's really no other way they could have done it. I figure, I mean, it's realistic. I would assume any urban trooper that's wearing a vest like that probably isn't going to be able to move very effectively anyway. But yeah, it's a great looking figure. It is a reminder sort of it's kind of thinking back, going back to the previous conversation where we were talking about the O-ring figures. It's a reminder of just how cool they were able to execute that. Hasbro was back in '89 when they first did the Alley Viper. They were able to mirror that kind of thick, torsoed, padded torso, but still maintain the O-ring articulation. I think that's what made figures like that so great, is that they looked big and bulky and imposing, but they didn't lose any of that movement or any of that posability. It's a little bit more challenging with, stuff, full-on secondaries that aren't sculpted onto the underlying figure. But yeah, I mean, all that aside, the figure looks fantastic. I'll be certainly fighting other collectors to try to get myself a few of them.
Yeah. Pat, what were your thoughts, buddy?
I can't help myself but to compare it to the art that we've seen and see how many differences there are. I'm really wondering if it is the same gear on the torso or if it is something new.
I think it's something. I think the new. I think it's new what they've got on the figure.
Yeah,
I think when you look at, and also the deco is wildly almost opposite, isn't it? It's like it's almost like blue is the majority color on the card art version.
Yeah, it looks like of course the head sculpt may be the same. Really haven't done a really deep comparison of this one, but I like some of the things that they worked back in from the 25th one, like the knife on the forearm that can be pulled out, I think is one of the really cool things. That really set the 25th figure as one of the best in that line, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And it helps this figure tremendously to have him be a little more intricate, I think. It definitely looks good. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those ones where I'm going to need a few more of these than I usually get.
I wonder if they were to do another one, if they would change up the web gear, because if you actually think back to the original Alley Viper and Alley Viper version 2, a lot of people miss the fact that second Alley Viper in the original run, and then subsequently the third one, actually had a different torso and helmet sculpt than the original one.
The other thing I know with Classified as well, like they are always looking for reuse. They're always looking for a way to kind of do this again. And the beauty part with the Alley Viper is it does have multiple versions, multiple decos, and so on and so forth that can be done. There's that red and black scheme, which could be done on this figure pretty much without changing it. Then I think of that yellow and black version, and I think they'd have to do like a head sculpt change, a shield would be different. In fact, the whole body's pretty much different, isn't it? So they could maybe use a few things on it, but it would have to be a complete change again. But I could definitely see them doing like that red and black version that we got like in the modern era.
Yeah, I always liked the fact that one was just carrying nothing but a giant Cobra logo for his shield as well. I don't know if they would do that. But
branding,
right. I like the fact that the 25th one also had the baton on the inside. So that's not on this one, but who knows what they could do with Alley Viper in the future. And I liked how the second one also had like a knife across his chest.
Yeah.
But it's just Alley Vipers feel like maybe they would be something that would vary a little bit from person to person. I don't know why in my mind that they're not perfectly uniform from one to the other whenever they would go in, but
like kind of like a SWAT team, all kind of slightly different.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably why my mind is going there.
Well, anyway, that kind of brings us to the end of what was been a ridiculous week of reveals for Hasbro and the G.I. Joe brand. Let's get stuck into our next news item, which is in Pinfinity news. So, thanks to friend of the show, Chief Stride, for this piece of news, but my old co-host from Talking Joe picked up a con-exclusive set of G.I. Joe Pinfinity Augmented Reality Enamel pins last weekend at MCM Expo in London. The set consists of Duke and Cobra Commander AR enamel pins individually boxed and a G.I. Joe branded lanyard all together in a special package. The set is limited to 500 pieces in the United Kingdom, and they will be a con-exclusive for $29.99. This particular set will not be online, so keep an eye out at any major US or UK conventions for the Pinfinity booth in the future if you want one of these sets. I have asked if there is a list of cons the company will be attending in the future, which we will post on our socials when we get a response from them. The Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow pins are really nice, so I'm looking forward to seeing the Duke and Cobra Commander card back AR features. Pat, we discussed this a little while back, didn't we, with Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, and we expected there to be a few more. Interesting they're doing this as a con exclusive though, right?
Yeah, I could see maybe why, because doing it as a special thing for the fact that they probably wanted to get the lanyard out there because the lanyard would probably encourage people to attach their pins and kind of build an entire
There you go.
set. So who knows? Maybe eventually they'll do a Cobra lanyard as well if they get that other G.I. Joe lanyard filled.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, Justin, like, just quick thoughts on what you think of those Pinfinity pins. Have you kind of seen what they do? Have you seen the little AR kind of feature on them?
I have, yeah, and they're pretty neat. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll end up getting my hands on them or not, but I'm all for kind of thinking a little outside the box and doing something new and creative. And yeah, I think it's a really neat idea. Absolutely.
There's Snake Eyes. I just dropped Storm Shadow on the floor, and I can't be bothered to reach down and get him. So there you go.
Don't blame you.
But yeah, I just thought I'd pop that in there as a little bit of news for everyone to kind of digest. But yeah, so if you're, I have messaged Pinfinity, and they actually did get back to me. I forgot as I was reading that out to say that I think it was the set was available for members as well. So if you're a member on Pinfinity, check out their website, see how you can go about doing that. You might be able to get it through that as well, but they did say that they are going to be also at conventions. Whatever conventions they go to, they're going to post on their socials. So they're not going to put out like a list of all the cons they're going to, but when they go to a con, they'll make it very clear that they're going to that con. So follow their Facebook and Twitter pages and their socials, and you will definitely be able to keep up, especially if you want to go and get one of those sets, which is quite nice. I got a Mega Man one sent to me randomly by accident before they sent me these. They said just keep it, it's fine. I'm like, okay, thanks. It's really nice, like the nice box, little slip cover, the lanyard, the 2 pins, really nice little set. So I think it's really nice they're doing it with Duke and Cobra Commander. And I mean, that's pretty much all we can really talk about on that. What is interesting though, lads, is that we've had a bit of break in bloody news, haven't we? Yes, Super 7 have just teased on their socials that the Ultimates Wave 2 is being launched next week, with a cheeky teaser image of Flint reading a newspaper with Cobra Commander on it, which reads, Cobra Commander to deliver State of the Empire address tonight. Very Worlds Without End this, isn't it? I'm pretty sure in Worlds Without End, in that episode, Flint and they get a newspaper, then it has that on it. So I think that's a nice little call out. So maybe they're teasing something from that episode specifically. Who knows, right? So first off, we're going to get 4 new figures here, guys. Flint, I'm imagining, is going to be one of those, because Super 7 don't do subtle hints. They do hints that punch you in the face. And I'm guessing Flint's going to be involved in this. We've already had Cobra Commander, so I don't think we're going to get another Cobra Commander. What are your thoughts on other figures in this wave? We'll start with you, Pat.
I think that we talked about Baroness and Scarlet, so I would expect one of the 2 of them. I think maybe Baroness would fit really well in their opposite Flint.
She's in Worlds Without End as well. She's in that. She's in a Nighty at one point. I wonder if they do that Nighty Baroness, where she's going, oh, you're not my stealer. My stealer has a tattoo on his other arm. I think that's kind of what she says in it as well, and you can quote me almost word for word. I've seen that episode way too many times. My stealer. Yeah, so I don't think it's going to be Nighty Baroness, but I don't know.
They might do just a swappable head without her glasses or something, or removable, because she didn't have her glasses in Worlds Without End, right?
No, at one point they're off. Yeah, but she does wear them eventually. I mean, you can get away with just doing a Baroness because she just wears a normal gear anyway, I think, towards the end of it. But yeah, I'm super excited for this. I'm trying to wonder what else they're going to throw in there. Obviously, like you mentioned, Pat, I don't think they're going to do both Baroness and Scarlet. I think they'll save Scarlet for maybe, or Baroness for another wave. One of those 2. Who else do you think they're going to throw in though? Like, who are the big characters? Shipwreck? Not in Worlds Without End, but in Sunbow.
Yeah, right. I don't think it all has to be Worlds Without End. I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
The wave that much. So Shipwreck, yeah, he seems to be one of the first ones they probably should do from a cartoon-styled toy line, because he's such a cartoon-specific character. Yeah. I'm kind of wondering though, how are they doing these reveals? Are the pre-orders going up next week and the reveals tonight? Because us talking about this now, we may not appear until after everybody else already knows.
Well, it says launching next week, so I guess the way Super 7 usually do stuff is they'll tease that thing and they'll say it's happening whenever, and then that's when you see it all.
The pre-order.
You see everything at the same time.
The images.
Yeah.
That's what happened with Silverhawks.
At the same time as the images. Okay.
Yeah, Silverhawks last week they announced Wave 2, and you could pre-order it, and then they showed all the different images and everything.
They did tease an image of Timber previously, and that led everyone to believe that we were getting Snake Eyes in that wave as well. But we'll probably get a few more teasers before this goes out. But I'll keep up to date on the news burst. Don't you worry. But yeah, as we speak at the moment, because this is just broken today, this is what we're seeing at the moment. So very exciting here. I think, we could be even in maybe even in line for maybe like a Cobra Trooper, because I know they like to throw in a little army builder in there. They threw a bat in last time, didn't they? So maybe a Cobra Trooper. Maybe, I don't know, just off the top of my head, Gung Ho's a big character in the cartoon. I don't know. I'm just throwing these names out.
Yeah, they have a tendency to throw us big characters and obscure characters kind of all at the same time. So, yeah, I don't know. There's
so many to choose from.
It's wide open.
Yeah.
I mean, it's totally wide open. I speaking of Worlds Without End, while I don't think this wave will be all Worlds Without End, they could clearly do like a Steeler somewhere down the road. I could totally see them doing that at some point. So I think, there's if you really start thinking about what's available from the Sunbow universe, I mean, this lane, they already said it could go on for decades. I mean, there's just so much potential.
I'm waiting for the Frozen Fudgies 3-pack, which is Quick Kick, Bazooka, and Alpine.
Yeah.
And they cut the box is basically underneath of a Hiss tank that they're all hiding underneath.
Well, there's Storm Shadow. I mean, Storm Shadow was certainly a key character. They did Snake Eyes in Wave 1. There's Storm Shadow in Wave 2.
There's a dumb thought. Of course it's going to be Storm Shadow. Surely. It's the Snake Eyes in Wave 1. It's got to be Storm Shadow in Wave 2, hasn't it?
I don't know. That hasn't held true with the Classified line. So.
Right.
Well, true. But this is a license out. This is an out license, isn't it? This is like someone else doing it.
Yeah,
but who are our big...
as was mentioned in the event the other day, in the cartoon, Storm Shadow's more against Spirit, so
maybe it's going to be Flint.
I don't know.
Spirit, Baroness, and Storm Shadow. That's what I'm gonna throw that out there as my 4, just because I don't know, topical, current, fun, interesting. We'll see.
No army builder though.
To be honest, I don't think Sunbow would necessarily do a Spirit figure for all of the...
That would be tough.
The main reasons that,
Yeah, that would be tough.
So it's very likely that he's one that you probably wouldn't get.
Which is unfortunate because he was a very critical character in some of those early episodes, especially I would have loved to be able to do a Sunbow accurate Spirit versus Storm Shadow kind of display, but totally understand that might be insensitive at this point.
Yeah, so I'm going to drop that idea and just say... Well, if you get Flint, it's too contrived to throw Jay in, isn't it? Every single time you throw Flint in. That's just like... It gets to the point of like, then they're not their own characters. It's like they can't be there without the other one.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like... And the funny thing is, Flint and Jay are top characters individually.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, both of them
they don't have to be attached,
to me, they're A-level for me. They're like top of the tree in terms of characters in all media for G.I. Joe, and yet they're always put together and they're always together in those things, and I think it's just become like almost like a habit to do that, especially for me to put it in my head. Anyway, we will find out very soon. Next week we'll find out, and we'll bring you our reactions, I guess, if we can find the time, lads, to have a quick chat about it. Probably on the next weekly in that case. But yeah, that brings us to the end of our news today. I'm going to flip on over and talk first to Carson and then to Brian Sauer of Assembly Required. Carson of 3D Joes, and then to Brian Sauer, who got some updates for us for Assembly Required. And then we'll come back with these two lunatics for the shout-outs. So see you on the other side, gentlemen. Joining me now to discuss all the awesome O-Ring reveal goodness from Pulsecon 2021 is the man behind the epic G.I. Joe Mega Site 3D Joes, and of course those stunning Collecting the Art of G.I. Joe books. Yes, you all know him, a real American hero, Carson Mataxis. How are you doing, buddy?
That's the most beautiful introduction I've ever had, Chris.
I said it at the beginning, full disclosure. I hope you like your intro.
I'm going to need a snippet of that, and I'm just going to put it up on my LinkedIn profile when we get done.
I'll copy and paste it over right now.
Right.
Buddy, great to have you on the show. At the time, like when we did Justin and I did like a kind of quick reaction to the reveals from Pulsecon on the weekend, and I got a message from you as we were right in the middle of it saying, "Hey man, if you're going to go live, you want me to jump on?" And I was thinking, damn it, we should have had you on. I wish I'd thought about it, because we knew we were both on the fan wall. We were kind of in the chat and everything in the fan wall, which I'll talk to you a little bit at the beginning, like in a little while. But you know, I was hitting myself for not getting you on, so I apologize for that.
To your credit, you didn't know that they were making an announcement that was like in my O-Ring wheelhouse.
That was very true. Like, very true.
We saw a lot of classifieds coming. We knew that, and we thought maybe we'd get some retro announcements. Although Hasbro hasn't really been making the announcements, Walmart has.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't expect what we got on Saturday in a good way.
How amazing! Well,
I was just giddy. I just wanted to talk about it. I was like, hey, man, what are you doing? Let's talk about this. I was just excited.
That's why we've got you on this weekly episode, because you're right. Like, this was something, you know, Justin and I kind of, we spoke about it. We discussed our kind of thoughts about the whole thing. And I thought, yeah, let's get Carson involved. Massive with 3D Joes, obviously. If you haven't gone on that site, then I don't really know what you're doing, because it's like one of the main G.I. Joe sites in the universe right now. So
it's totally free, and it's ad free, and just go enjoy it. And it's mobile friendly. If you go to it on your cell phone, in the top right corner, make sure you click on the mobile little banner, and you'll have a very good mobile user experience. So go check it out.
I use it all the time, mainly to steal pictures. But in fact,
that's with permission. Chris
yeah, that is.
Permission.
I kind of have like, it's almost like an unspoken rule for the most part, but I must admit, when I'm doing it, I'm thinking like, God, if I had to thank Carson for every time I did this, he would like the message list would be ridiculous. But no, I really appreciate you allowing me to do that, mate. And
Chris, I let all YouTube content creators do that because I appreciate the hard work that y'all do. My hard work is archiving. Y'all's hard work is content creation. And so if I can help you guys do your job a little easier, literally all I ask to the other YouTubers out there is give credit, man. Like, photos courtesy of 3djoes.com. That's all I want, man. I want people to be able to find more of the good stuff.
Absolutely.
Right? You're sharing a bit of the good stuff through your YouTubes. I want them to be able to find more of the good stuff. That's all it's about.
Absolutely. So if you're not checking it out, I don't know how you don't know about this, but check it out. It's amazing. Now, before we get into the actual reveals and stuff, let's go back 6 months, if you will, many moons ago, when we got the pleasure of chatting with the Hasbro brand team at the time, Lenny, Ben Montano, and Paul, and I believe it was Haley. So
Haley.
That was the team at the time that we spoke to, and they were really open, really honest with us, which was like, you know, kind of crazy. We were expecting very closed off, very strict kind of rules and this kind of stuff, but no, they were really open with us. And right. Carson, you posited the whole O-Ring thing, didn't you? And they were really open about that.
I've always been a really vocal proponent of O-Ring, and it's not that I'm not a fan of modern, I am. But, you know, I've got nieces and nephews, and I've given them 2007 and up, 25th and up toys, and I've given them O-Ring toys, you know, from the 2000s that were a little cheaper, and I'd let them open them. Not my, but the 2000 stuff, I could afford to buy them some of that and let them open it. And honestly, like, their feedback is that they're more robust, they're more sturdy, they're kind of like the you know, the hands don't fall off at the wrist, and those kinds of criticisms that we're used to. So I've always been a really vocal proponent of O-rings still having a place. You know, if you want a toy that's just really rugged and that you can play with, and yes, maybe the O-ring will break and you can just replace it. It's not a big deal. Get over it, guys. But and the only thumbs that really broke were like 82 or maybe Slaughter's Marauders, because those were made in Brazil from cheaper plastic. But it's not like all the thumbs are breaking off left and right either. So anyway, I've always been a really vocal proponent of O-ring, and I did kind of slide that in there towards the end of the interview because I didn't want to like rain on their classified and retro 4-inch, you know, news. I certainly support that work. But yeah, I always, when I have the opportunity with Hasbro, I'm gonna let them know, like, there's a big part of the audience that still loves that O-ring format, and I could not be happier that they actually made the announcement and that they've been working in that direction, because they must have been working on some of this stuff 6 months ago if we think about it.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's one thing I wanted to mention. It's the fact that, you know, in that interview, we discussed animal companions, we discussed vehicles, we discussed all this kind of stuff. And ever since that interview, I'm not saying we had anything to do with that, because we were just, you know, putting forward questions from the fandom anyway. So it wasn't necessary. I mean, most of it was from us, yes, but like it was fandom, in context, it was the fandom talking about all this stuff at the time.
Right.
So we posit all that stuff to them, and then 6 months later, we've got 3 animal companions, 5 if you count Diablo and Georgie, which is the most adorable crocodile kind of addition ever for Croc Master.
Yeah.
But you know, Timber obviously with the Alpha Commandos, Freedom with Spirit, Iron Knife, unbelievable cool stuff in the classified line with that. And even, you know, I mean, obviously Baroness had already been out at that point, I believe, but we had Breaker's Ram cycle. So, you know, there was definitely that thing of like, we're listening and this is what we're trying to do about it. And you're right, O-Ring must have been in production, because, or at least in design, because there's no way they can crank that stuff out that quick.
Yeah, I mean, they said on the presentation this Saturday that that's the one and only Sky Striker that exists. So I'm not sure how they're fabricating that. It's probably 3D printed or something.
Wood. Wooden, painted grey is what they've done.
Be like sheets of plastic melted over wooden shapes, you know, like old school styrene style.
Yes.
But no, so I would say that they could make that one Sky Striker in the last 6 months. And those, you noticed all the action figures were gray too. They all seem to be kind of pre-production fabrications. I would posit that maybe perhaps they could have at least built all that stuff in the last 6 months. I think they had to already be thinking about it and planning it though, and ideating like, okay, we want to do a Sky Striker, but this time licensed by Grumman, more accurate to scale, more detail, bigger cockpit, controls for both pilots, cloth parachutes, like all that brainstorming and ideation stuff. And let's make a Scarlet with a flight suit that harkens back to her flying it all the time in the cartoon. And let's make a flight crew, you know, like I think they would have already been thinking about all that stuff.
I've got to say, I really like the idea of putting Scarlet in that Ace kind of body, but then with the kind of the Glenda kind of homage colors and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was really nice.
I didn't think about the Glenda. That is a really good point, and I wonder if that's part of their design process, if that was part of their design thinking on that.
Well, I'm speaking to Lenny and Corey soon, so
nice.
I'll definitely ask them that question. We'll have a little O-ring thing where we'll discuss that. But
Sweet.
yeah, that's really it's just awesome. And what I will say is that I at first, when the video came up and it said HasLab G.I. Joe and there was a Sky Striker flying over, in my head, I hadn't really worked out we were in a separate section, really, because it was difficult on the day trying to work out, you know, sharing stuff and frantically trying to like keep up with what was going on.
Sure.
I'm thinking, they're not doing a classified Sky Striker, are they? That thing's going to be the size of this bloody room. It would be huge, wouldn't it? So, like, when it kind of said, you know, and the return of O-Ring, and I was like, okay, interesting. And I was kind of thinking, my first thought, though, was like, we've had a lot of Sky Strikers in the past, you know, in the modern era. And I was thinking, is the community kind of geared up for another Sky Striker? But when you get all of the extra bits and all of the, you know, what I really love, the weapons transport and the missile kind of loading vehicle and like the pit crew and the blast effects and all that kind of stuff, the flight stand, which is really cool as well, that was kind of like almost like they're messing about with it, and I'm thinking that's the coolest thing about this. Yeah,
articulating flight. It looked like it had a ball joint on it where you could tilt it up and down and left and right. The stand's awesome. And, you know, Chris, I share your hesitance for, you know, whether or not rolling out with a Sky Striker was the ideal vehicle for HasLab, because we've had so many Sky Strikers in the past. And I've seen a lot of that commentary online, and I don't begrudge those people. But I do think they're wrong when they say that it's just a reuse of the same old mold. I don't think this is the same mold at all.
There's a lot of differences. I mean, like the whole thing of separating the wings and the landing gear kind of technical aspect.
That's been a complaint since 1983. The F-14's landing gear does not have to be down when the wings are out or vice versa, whatever it is. So that's always been a gripe, that you can't have the landing gear and the wings function independently of each other. So here we are 39 years later, and they've solved that problem. Throw away all your old Sky Strikers. They've finally done one right.
Burn them. Melt them.
Look at the details underneath the cockpit, the guns that are on the sides and everything. It looks like a much more detailed, more intricate mold. If you look at the cockpit, compare it to the 25th one, they could only fit one detailed cockpit in there. This one, they fit 2 seats, both with controls as they advertised, right? And the split cockpit canopy that comes up that leaves the little front part like we're used to in the Rattler. This is not the same product. This is not the same mold. I understand the casual community's confusion around that. Like, they're looking at it like, well, that's just the same 25th Sky Striker that we've been getting for a decade, right? I understand that initial reaction, but I don't think they've looked at it critically and considered that, no, this is actually an all-new Sky Striker, and it's kind of better in every way.
I do agree with that, absolutely. I think it's it's almost like the fatigue of the, like how we always get the same characters. Do you know what I mean? Like how you're always getting the core characters, and it feels like with the vehicles, you're always getting like the 2 or 3 iconic vehicles. And but again, I think after thinking about it, after having the time to look at it more, and like all the new details attached to it, I think they would probably do well to have some comparison shots, like to show.
Yes, you are so right. You're so right. They need to put one side by side. They need to overlay it on top of the other one. We need to show to the community clearly how they differentiated this from previous products. I don't begrudge the casual fan looking at that and saying that's a 25th Sky Striker. I don't begrudge them for thinking it. The impetus is on Hasbro to show that this is exponentially better. It's bigger, it's better, it's more detailed, it's double cockpit, it's dual controls, it's cloth parachutes, it's split canopy, blah, 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 blah. Their marketing people should be on top of that. They should have the 30 feature call out bullet point list of how this is better than any Sky Striker you've ever gotten. Me and you and the, other converts that have turned the corner and said, yes, this is worth investing in, right? It didn't take me long to turn that corner, but I really will have a little further road to travel before they can turn that corner and make the pledge. But the impetus isn't on us to go out to the community and educate the community on how this is bigger and better. It's really on Hasbro. And so, they just did their first announcement on Saturday. I hope that they get out in front of this from a marketing communications standpoint and really market this thing and show how this is the Omega. This is the end of Sky Strikers, because we're tired of Vamps. We're tired of his tanks. We're tired of all Strikers, and we're tired of Sky Strikers. We've gotten dozens of them. I am going all in on this Sky Striker because I do believe that it's exponentially better. And the supporting vehicles and the supporting O-ring figures, the flight crew, all that good stuff.
The pit crew, how cool are they?
That's amazing. Seriously. The support staff for the flag was always lacking, right? We never got any, just kind of normal seamen to like man the guns and stuff like that. I've always wanted us to have an O-ring kind of 5-pack of just support crew for the flag. And so maybe Hasbro is obviously listening to us, right?
Yeah.
So we can
the support crew on the deck just doing that.
So now we got those guys that are going to, wave the planes off and everything. Now let's get some more support crew for the flag kind of thing. So I think they're listening to us, and that's very exciting.
Absolutely. And this obviously means a USS flag is coming, so that's good. HasLab 2, guys, you wait for it.
Right.
I will say at the moment, they're at 4,074 backers. Still a long time to go. And they're motoring on that, I think. More so I think I was a little concerned at just how will the fandom numbers kind of come through on this? Will we see roughly what the G.I. Joe fandom looks like in terms of those kind of, that kind of backers? Because I looked at 10,000, I thought, yep, reachable. I look at 18,000 and I'm like, I really hope it's there, but is that, do we have that in the community?
Brother, I can tell you the only statistics that I know, and that's the 3D Joe statistics. We're serving 1 million page views every year to 165,000 unique visitors, right? But only 4,000 of those visitors have ever either purchased a poster, a book, or just signed up for the newsletter. Not even purchased anything, but just signed up for the newsletter. So I just passed 4,000 subs on that email list.
Well,
so yeah, I don't not that every GI Joe fan goes to 3D Joe's, and not that every GI Joe fan that goes to 3D Joe's signs up for the email list, but it's anecdotal evidence. I just passed 4,000 on the email list.
I mean, you can look at that in all sorts of factors of the fandom. Like you look at the page likes on one of them on like all the major like GI Joe, the long-term GI Joe kind of sites and Facebook pages and Twitter pages and stuff like that. There's definitely. Oh, it's interesting because I suppose that there's going to be some crossover. There's going to be people who just like that F-14 Tomcat style plane. Do you know what I mean? They're going to like that style kind of thing and maybe think, maybe they were born in the 80s. Maybe they had a passing interest in G.I. Joe, possibly.
If they could co-license it, the best thing I think they could do to try to really help this Sky Striker take off is they could come with a sticker sheet that is like officially sanctioned by the people that own the content for Top Gun. If you could make a Top Gun knockoff F-14 out of this, I think, put the Maverick and Goose stickers on it or whatever, then I really think you got some crossover potential. How many F-14 military fans that wanted it not even really 1/18th scale? This is not a 1/18th scale F-14, nor has it ever been. I think BBI made one or somebody else made one, and it's massively bigger. It almost takes up the whole flight deck of the flag, and that's just at a 1/18th scale, but like a more accurate 1/18th scale. So I don't think you're going to get a lot of military enthusiast crossover. I think what's made Classified so successful is that Marvel Legends are really successful and people have segued into G.I. Joe, but just because they enjoy collecting figures at that scale and that format. I don't know that there's like a lot of brand crossover potential with the F-14 Tomcat.
No, I agree with that. And what I'm saying is like, I think my question or my questioning is, does it have that, and you're kind of answering it there really. But then also, I kind of look at it and I think, does the fandom have enough in it to reach that kind of 18,000? We'll see, I guess. But at the moment, it's doing really well. It's moving it's moving well. It overtook the Rancor, which I was surprised with. I know the Rancor has actually got less backers to reach. I think 1,000 less. But But and I think that's just because of the price. I think the price obviously brings the backers up and down. So. Yeah. And all right, well, let's talk about the price. Actually, do you think that for what you're getting on its base level, do you think it's enough just for those 10,000 backers without all the extras, stretch goals? Do you think it's worth it for that?
It's a much tougher sell without the stretch goals. I'll be candid. I do not think that this is a typical Sky Striker that would have retailed for whatever $30, $35. Yeah. If you're one of the OBs that waited for Ross and got it for 20, you're part of the problem. We can't get vehicles at retail anymore because of you guys. Anyway, I don't think this is a typical Sky Striker that would have retailed for 35 or whatever. I remember the Tomahawk was 30. I don't remember if the Sky Striker was 30, but probably was. I don't think this is that Sky Striker, and so I don't value this Sky Striker at $30. Right? I think this is a much more detailed, much more intricate mold. I think the vehicle itself. Let's talk about Joe Club vehicles. You remember how expensive those were because they were doing shorter runs? Well, we're doing shorter runs on this HasLab stuff too. So you have to expect that the pricing is going to be more like the Joe Club pricing than Hasbro mass release at Target, Walmart, whatever retail. So I don't have that expectation. So I'm thinking that the vehicle itself, if this was a Hasbro, or excuse me, if this was a Joe Club exclusive, like you remember the Sky. What was it? The Sky Striker that was like Sky Patrol with this kind of for paint. I think that was like a $90 vehicle or something, or $100 vehicle.
Very expensive. Yeah, 100%.
So I fully expect with Hasbro making the numbers that they're going to be making for this HasLab, which is maybe 10,000, maybe 18,000, whatever, that it's going to be more in line with the Joe Con Club exclusive stuff. So I expect the vehicle to be worth $100. The figures themselves, okay, we'll call those $20 a piece, right? That's what everybody's been paying for these low grade Black Major and Red Laser figures for the last decade. While Hasbro didn't make O-Ring, other people kind of filled that gap, and I won't belabor that too much, but they're not mass produced Hasbro quality figures. I'll say that, and I own a lot of them, and I'm saying that from experience. So I would at least value these figures at $20. I would value the support vehicles at $20 each. I would value the stand at probably $30. That thing is massive and looks like it's like got some really strong articulation and the missile holding capacity and all that.
The fact that you can put it in a pose and the missiles go on and it looks like the missiles have come away from... Oh, that's brilliant. That's genius.
taking off is gorgeous. Like, this is going to be like in a CEO executive's office on his oak desk, like in full flight mode, all the missiles take off. People are going to come in like, what the hell is that? That's G.I. Joe. That's not G.I. Joe. Like, because it doesn't look like a kid's toy. It looks like a legit, like, air enthusiast display. That's just amazing. So anyway, let's total that up. $100 for the plane, $20 for the two figures. That's $140. I'd say $20 for the two support vehicles. That's $180. $30 for the stand. That's $210. What about all the blast effects? Can we get $20 for those? All right. So now we're at $230. I don't think it's a terrible value. I truly do not. This is not a brand apologist just saying yes to everything. This is legit my thinking of what those individual pieces should be worth. I think it's at least $230. Now, if you get those stretch goals in there and you got Flight Suit Scarlet, you got
Nightforce Ripcord,
you got the flight crew. There's no way. I don't think there's any way on the secondary market that someone that drops $230 for this thing, if we hit those stretch goals, they're not going to be able to recoup their investment. I personally am putting my money where my mouth is and have pledged for 5 of these because, number one, I want to see this project succeed so that Hasbro will continue making more O-ring stuff and so that they'll do more HasLab G.I. Joe projects in specific, because we all know they have other brands they can play with. We have to show them we are important. Play with our brand. Service us.
Totally.
You know, the best way I can say that is, yes, what's the maximum I can buy? 5? Okay, great. Sign me up. Because I have no doubt I'm going to keep 2. All I do is I get 1 to open and 1 to keep sealed, right? That's my typical MO. I don't need the other 3. The other 3 is me showing Hasbro that there are people out there that love the brand and will go hard for it to try to make their dreams into reality. And I know what that feeling's like. I've gone out to the community and said, hey guys, help me make this book. Help me make this book. It's 5-6 volumes now. So I know the feeling that they have that, man, I really want to make this thing, but I just don't know if there's going to be demand for it. I'm here to show them there's demand for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So other listeners will consider it. I do think, you know, even if you buy 5, you don't have to keep 5. You can flip them, and I guarantee you'll make money, especially if we hit those stretch goals.
100%. And yeah, I think it's a really great kind of thing that, you know, if the fandom can like come together and get this thing funded, then, you know, it's going to open up the door for loads more cool stuff in the future for the O-ring collectors. And I think that's great.
Don't get me wrong. I want classified vehicles too. And if we have to HasLab those, so be it. I know we were just talking about how tired we are of the classic vehicles, but I want a classified Vampiric Hiss. I want a classified Striker. I feel like at retail, we should be able to get a Build-A-Figure Cobra Snake, where you do a 5-figure set. One's got the torso and the others have leg, arm.
I could see Super 7 doing the Snake because it's very classically Sunbow as well, yeah. Like, isn't it? Especially in that kind of early the mini series where they kind of come out the walls kind of thing. Right. I think that would be something I could see. But no, I think that'd be wicked. Like any Build-A-Figure kind of aspect would be kind of fun with G.I. Joe. But I suppose you're limited, aren't you? I mean, we did speak about this with them, didn't we, as well, 6 months ago? About is there any idea for that?
Yeah, I'm a squeaky wheel. I've only got a few ideas, but I'm going to keep making sure they pop up.
That's so true.
It's going to be good for the brand. I'm going to continue to try to put it out there.
Why do you think I keep mentioning Lightfoot every 5 seconds on every show? Right. That's why. In fact, if you were to look at the analytics of the pages I visit on 3D Joes, you'd see that Lightfoot is probably there every single day as I yoink that image. Yes.
Back and forth too.
Exactly. Carson, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, bud. I'm really happy that that you were up for doing this as well, and you didn't feel put out that I completely ignored you that day and said, "We're recording. Get out of my DMs." No, I really appreciate you jumping on, man.
No doubt, man. It's always good to speak with you, and I'm just genuinely just so ecstatic that they heard us, man. We've been saying for years, like, come on, there's a place for O-ring. If these guys can make O-ring and it's knockoff stuff, come on, make us some O-ring. And they're doing it, man. So let's get behind it and support it. And to your point, like the exhaustion with the same figures again and again, I realize it's not ideal that they're doing Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow as their O-ring 2-pack, for starters. But guys, please back it. Yeah. And please buy it. $40, it's $20 a figure, which is not crazy. That's what people have been paying for, again, Black Major and Red Laser O-rings. Hasbro's going to do it better. and it's official. And it's going to have nice packaging, and theirs don't come with packaging either. So if you've been paying $20 for Black Major and Red Laser, don't complain about $20 to Hasbro when it's coming with packaging, and it's going to be, you know, official mass produced quality. So I hope everybody will get behind that, because I want to see a heck of a lot more than just, you know, the top 5 characters that we always get.
Yeah, I'm fingers crossed we get a Falcon for you as well, buddy.
Amen, brother. I got a really Falcon, though, a custom. So I'm good to go on that for now, man. This guy, absolutely. Ray Murphy. Oh, my mom fell in love with his accent when I was live streaming with him, by the way. But his figure's absolutely perfect. It's sitting on my desk. I look at it literally every day. So I'm actually kind of like satiated. I don't necessarily need a classified Falcon for the moment. I'm good.
Thanks, want the classified Falcon, though. I tell you what I want. I want a classified Sonic Fighters, Supersonic Fighters Falcon. That's what I want.
It's not a bad deco. It kind of looks like, you know, Tetris on his pants.
Tetris PJs, isn't it?
Right.
I love that original vintage figure, and the card and everything. Oh, it's gorgeous. Anyway, Carson, buddy, thank you so much for jumping on, mate. Really appreciate you jumping on the weekly and chatting with me. And you know, when obviously more stuff is announced, which is possible, maybe even when we get to the end of the HasLab project, we can have another chat again about what this, you know, where we are, for good or for bad, depending on what that situation is. We can have another discussion about it.
It's not a foregone conclusion, right? We still need to work on getting the word out there. But again, I hope Hasbro does a good job of getting the word out there for how this differentiates from the previous dozen or so Sky Strikers that we've gotten. A lot of the impetus is on them to create that differentiation. So I hope they do that. But yeah, man, it's always good to talk with you. I will break the news here that 3D Joes will be covering the new O-Ring stuff on the homepage, 3djoes.com. So, you know, I've delegated other areas of the product line and different generations of the brand to other people, but I'm personally taking it on because this is my jam, and it's my thank you to Hasbro for making it for us.
I can't wait to see you trying to like get that giant plane on a rotating.
I got the 7-footer ready to go, brother.
Have you done the flag yet? Because every time I've checked, it's always been like coming soon.
No, unfortunately, the flag being 7 feet, when you set the camera back from it, you have a cone of a view, right?
Yeah.
So then you have the object, and then you have the background. So the background has to be exponentially larger than the object. So if you think about the flag being 7 feet and got to rotate, so it's got to be more than 3.5 feet from the camera and more than 3.5 feet from the background. So if you start doing the mechanics of the size of the cyc wall that you need,
paint the inside of your house to do it, wouldn't you?
I'm gonna have to rent a studio to do it, man. That's literally the only vehicle that I can't do in my current 7-foot setup.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to seeing that spin around, I'll tell you that much. But mate, thank you again. Real pleasure. Lovely speaking to you as always. And yeah, have a great day, whatever you're doing, pal.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
Speak to you later. Let's whip on over to speak to Brian Sauer from Assembly Required. He's got some updates for us. Okay then, I am back in a completely different costume from the last segment because I can change really fast and it has nothing to do with the fact I'm recording this segment on a completely different day at all. Also got the quiff out as well. Right now, I am joined by the man behind the awesome Codename Iowa group responsible for Assembly Required, a local Des Moines, Iowa G.I. Joe convention that is in its 10th year. Congratulations. He's also the genius behind all of our wonderful graphics. Yes, it's Brian Sauer. How are you doing, my good man?
Oh, I'm excellent. I'm super excited for, I don't know, more G.I. Joe. We just need more G.I. Joe right now, right? Like, we have not had enough in the last week.
It's been really chill, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, quiet. Nothing to spend money
really
on, nothing to go buy.
Nothing to add to this episode. No. The news is going to be really weak. Pat and I are just going to be twiddling our thumbs for an hour. That's not true. It's bonkers. And hot on the heels of all that bonkers is Assembly Required. How is that going for you?
That is going really well. I mean, aside from today, not to steal anything from Hasbro, but we're having some supply issues, a little bit of, getting some things in on time. But I'm assured that the boat will arrive, so we'll be okay. Hopefully we'll have some. Might be limited quantities, but we'll have some. No, actually, we're just dealing a little bit with some interesting, trying to get a hold of T-shirts, enough T-shirts to print on and stuff like that. Like things that a week ago when I checked in with our printer wasn't a problem. This week it's a problem. So,
always the way.
But yeah, little things like that. But no, everything is moving full steam ahead. Looks like we're aiming for a pretty good show.
Right, and so the last thing I think I saw you post in terms of like gear kits and in terms of like that kind of stuff, like things that are going to be in that kind of side of things, was the water tower. And I think we haven't. I don't think we've done an episode where we've talked about that yet, because we've only talked about the water tower in an update when it was in its kind of very kind of basic form, and now you've posted kind of like some really nice kind of like what the printing is going to be on it effectively. Yeah,
well, here we'll just show you this.
Look
that is sitting right next to me right now. So this is just the mechanical prototype that we built up. It still has a few little loosey-goosey parts to it, but you can get an idea of the function of it. So you'll be able to have just the blank water tower as a backdrop, and then you'll be able to open it up and expose
that's so
Tommy's
good.
little hideaway.
That is so good.
Yeah, it is about, I want to say, if I remember right, about 7 inches tall. The base is about 4 inches tall. So this stands about 10 inches tall, and it's got a pretty good kind of lip to it and everything. So
that's brilliant.
This will be pretty fun. You wanna see something else really pretty awesome?
Yes.
This is kind of what I've been dealing with a little bit today. But we actually got a printed sample.
Oh my goodness.
Back. Unfortunately, the bad part, which is I'm really struggling with this, is that it was printed on the wrong material. You can see kind of some of the detail on there.
Yeah.
Like, so you're getting the complete understructure, you're getting the inside of the tower.
Yeah.
A little bit of the bamboo rug.
That's
in
amazing.
There. And then the exterior. So the problem with this one was that it was printed on an uncoated backside of it. So, which I really dig. So we're working out on that right now. So we might have a little.
That's great. Yeah, so it's got like basically like a change up in
glossy,
the texture. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
because you kind of expect that with the wooden out exterior, wouldn't you? To be a little bit kind of like different, and the inside to be that kind of a bit kind of shinier and sexier. Yeah, that's amazing.
You want the weathered look and everything like that, and just the really wood look to it, but something that looks very New York City like. So
just urinate on it for about an hour, and you'll get a real good. No, I'm kidding. I love New York City. Don't get me wrong. I lived there for a number of months. I'm only joking. I'm allowed to say it because I lived there for a short period of time and worked there.
Right.
I'm allowed to diss New York. I love New York. It's amazing. But mate, that is so cool. And something about that particular choice that, again, I feel like really resonates, because there's something so iconic about that from the comics point of view that never really gets any other kind of like. It never really gets discussed or talked about as much. It's just a comics thing, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. It is. And it's one of those things. Like, so, we've talked about it before, and you've put it out there before about the whole theme being Ninja Force. And, what we've always tried to do is embrace the entire world of G.I. Joe. So whether it's the Sunboat, whether it's even Action Force or whatever, we want to embrace that world. And so under the umbrella of Ninja Force, well, why not do this? Exactly, why not do Tommy's water tower? It was just something that actually, believe it or not, it's been something that has been discussed for years amongst me and Travis and I and a couple other folks about wanting to do this. And even the diorama thing goes back years, like when I would be experimenting and playing around with stuff and wanting to build dioramas, but never really figured out how it fit into the narrative of our show.
Yeah.
Well, COVID, kits, now this whole thing's going, and now we're going down the whole diorama or the diorama route. But now we've got this. And I mean, like, this is the most ambitious out of the three so far.
That again,
obviously.
Blimey. It's got moving parts and everything.
I know. And it's just kind of one of those things where it was just like, let's sit down, figure out the mechanics of it. Let's do this just kind of simple, craft work, paperwork, and let's just try to make the most, like, badass, old school kind of fun play set that we can include. It could be a playset, it could be a backdrop, it can, it's not perfectly scaled for a 6-inch, but it does work with your 6-inch collection. So cool. There is trying to build some flexibility into these things. And I think that's one thing we wanted to try to do. We've always tried to do is we wanted to enhance the experience with the property.
Yeah.
Never really wanted to, we don't want to try to tell our own story outside of it, but what we want to do is try to enhance the experience, just like the show. We just want to have fun with the toys. We want to celebrate the brand. We want to come together and feel like we were 11 years old again, playing with our toys, playing with our GI Joes or our Action Force, and coming together and let's duke it out. So that's
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, if you if people have want anything to compare it to, obviously you did an amazing dio for the motor pool for Armor, which happened earlier this year, and that dio is incredible. Kate and I kind of put it together. I think Kate did most of it, but we when we put it together, it took a good a decent amount of time, but everything's so structurally sound, and there's a little section with a little kind of computer room and everything, and then there's a motor pool underneath, and then you can put all the other aspects that you guys had that you created for the show within it. There were 3D printed parts for a car lift. There was another little kind of fold up kind of, it's just bench, workbench and locker setup. Just really cool stuff like that. So when you guys put this forward as this is going to be the next one, I was like, that's going to be so awesome. And then you post the printed bits and you show that in the background, in the distance, you've got a billboard with Quick Kick on it with the Frozen Fudgies advert. I mean, that was really nice. It's a nice little touch as well.
Oh yeah. We always love doing that, putting little things in there, and like I said, again, crossing over worlds, but yet building it all out within the lexicon of what we all know as GI Joe. So putting out that you can't have a New York skyline without something back there, and why not put a billboard? And then what are you going to put in the billboard, right? It's it's either going to be Fudgies, Yojo Cola, grape soda,
extensive enterprises,
extensive enterprises,
cover girl on a magazine or some description. You never know.
Yep. There's plenty of stuff in there. So Absolutely. It's just it's a lot of fun. And I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. It's really I love building this out for us, and I'm enjoying this, and this is what I want to have. I'm just glad that other people like it and want it and buy it, and are getting a kick out of it, because this is a lot of fun.
And Captain, are the gear kits, is that over now for ordering, or can they do that?
No, actually, we've left some. There's still a few left up there for order.
Awesome.
We are in the description. Going to we'll ship those out after the show. Hopefully we'll have your t-shirt size left over. That's the only thing that's a little caveat about it. So I know some people have asked before, well, why don't you just make the kits available right away? Why don't you why is there a wait for it? And it's a lot of it has to do with the customization of the t-shirt, and just some other things that we add to it as we go through and manage the budget and production of these things. If we find extra room in the budget, instead of keeping the money, I like to make other things to drop in there.
Awesome.
Hence why sometimes you get 5 different stickers, or something completely random in there, or some extra parts, is because we've managed the budget, and we said, let's throw a little extra in this. This is just a hobby. This is fun. This is so much fun.
It is. I think one of my favorite things is going through those gear kits. You've sent a few through for we've done a couple of unboxings on the show before. We will be doing another one for this one as well. But the fun of seeing all these things and just being so surprised, and because I mean, we talk about this stuff off air, and you tell me what you've got planned, but there's stuff in there that I never know was going to be in there. And I'm pulling 6-inch 3D printed weapons, and I mean, I think I want to say that I wasn't aware, I wasn't fully paying attention that the Starduster kit was going to be in there. And when I pulled that out, I'm like, oh my word. And so with my Duke figure, my classified Duke, I can create a little Starduster figure, which is incredible. So that was really awesome. I'm looking forward to.
By the way, we call him Crop Duster, just to avoid any IP problems, and also a little tribute, kinship to Skidmark, and also a little harken back to us being here in Iowa. So, yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah,
Crop Dust is amazing. Anyway, sorry, completely threw me. The T-shirts,
yeah.
I've got to say, you mentioned the T-shirts a second ago. We'll talk about those quickly. They are gorgeous. Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow in that kind of like Ninja Force card art call out, their what would you call it? Their special move kind of call out, which is just brilliant. I love those. That's inspired, by the way.
Thank you. It was just something that again, like it's all the little things I gravitate towards and the details I notice. Looking at this stuff and, having it in my hands, going out and pulling out my carded Ninja Force collection and taking a look at them and seeing what little pieces and attributes can we put into the graphic language of the show. And so by doing so, you pick up on those little things. And we like to take those little things and try to make them kind of like you remember them.
Yeah.
But with our own twist. And so, version 2 of Snake Eyes, and I think it was version 2 of Storm Shadow as well.
You V2'd classic.
Yeah. And so you don't have, it is a different interpretation of what was done. It's graphically a little bit similar, but, fun T-shirt. The true nerds, the true connoisseurs of this will spot it a mile away, while some of it will just fly under the radar, and that's kind of what we like.
There's another thing I want to mention. We were discussing, weren't we? What should we put on the? What am I going to put on the on the text? We did some like a little bit of like we looked at some of the file cards and we kind of went back and forth in it. And we didn't actually. I didn't decide, but I mean, obviously, when you came back and sent me the final designs, I'm like, I like what you did there, because obviously it's in Storm Shadow's Ninja Force file card, isn't it? That little call out to lightning, the kind of move, the striking like lightning.
Yeah, and that's credit to Chad Baker, who is been a good friend of mine for a very long time, fellow Joe collector, big time nerd. We worked together in advertising, and so. I told Chad, I said, man, I can't decide on any of this stuff. You got a couple ideas on some lines. And boy, did he send back a list of some great lines.
Didn't he?
Some great lines. And I think actually you may be the only other person to notice, but some of those lines have crept into some of our social posts.
Yeah.
And I know they've crept into.
Well, you told me them all. So like I reckon every time it comes up, I'm like, there's another one. There's another one. There's another one. It was like, it must have been about 20 that you told me that day on the phone.
There's, and
dude's a machine.
I might have skipped half of them. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's fun, right? Like,
yeah, big time.
That's the thing. It's like, this is not your day job. This is just, let's just have some fun with this stuff. And let's, in our own little way, we're our own little G.I. Joe branding machine over here. And we just kind of just having, wanting to bring more and more to the tale. So, yeah.
So T-shirts, gear kits, some amazing stuff in the gear kits. Then also, you keep cheekily teasing this exclusive new female Marauder kind of connection action figure that you've got going on. So what can you tell us about that? Anything, or are we gonna have to wait a little while longer for the reveal on that?
You're going to have to wait a little while longer. We're hoping to do a reveal early next week. And that's all my fault because I'm still doing the art for the packaging. So that's what I'll be doing.
Don't say that. Say it's a planned out marketing, brand blueprint, iconic expression, any of the other things that you hear all the time. You know what I'm talking about.
I do. Well, we just want you to tune back in at our 11/5 events so that we can show you. Yeah.
11/5. What day is it now? What day is it today? Yeah.
Today's what 10 what is 10:28?
You should do that. You should do a random like couple of days later, just be like, hey,
a random reveal,
and then go to the random address that date kind of works with, and you'll be in like some horrible area and everything's on fire. You're like, we probably should have thought about this on the day beforehand. But
a little bit more.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but no, we'll plan on revealing that. It falls in line with the some of the other exclusive figures we've done. We've always done a 2 set of exclusive figures sold at the show. Marauders is gracious enough to help us out with the builds, with a few custom touches and some parts to it.
That's so awesome.
I can tell you, and I will tell you this, and I'm sure it's fine with Travis. We are including a homage to Ninja Force packed into there, and I'll leave that at that. I'll just tell you, there's an homage packed in there that harkens back to Tiger Force, Ninja Force,
Tiger Force, Ninja Force. Could you imagine that combo?
Yes.
Gee, well, Jinx would be a great one because she would cover. She's a ninja and she's been in Tiger Force. There you go, sorted.
Yeah, exactly.
Flint has been in Tiger Force and Ninja Commandos, which never came out. So maybe you could get him involved too.
No, well, actually, great segue because you know what we're going to be talking about there. Well, we're not, but D-Class will be talking about Ninja Commandos.
Brilliant.
They're going to be going through the presenting a whole panel on the Ninja Force, the Ninja Commandos, and I'm trying to remember the third iteration, the one that
Shadow Ninjas.
Shadow Ninjas, yeah. So they'll be covering all that kind of stuff in detail, great detail, and I believe there might even be some newer information that may have came to light.
Doesn't
recently.
surprise me.
I don't know.
D-Class always do that. Like, they're amazing. I mean, I am now part of Declassified. By default, I've forced my way in there, but I would unfortunately I'm not going to be able to make it to this show this year, which is really sucky, but we had plans to kind of work together on the D-Class booth, so that is something that I'm going to miss because I love the stuff they put together. Chris Murray, Pat Stewart, Troy McKee usually on there too. Really love what they put together. Obviously, Pat's going to be on the show, so he can tell us all about it. Maybe after the fact, when the shows are, after the show's been on. But really excited to see what that's all about. And also something else that you guys are doing that you've been posting a lot of, 6-inch weapons. So and accessories. So like weapon sprues you're doing, which is absolutely awesome. And also, obviously, the compound bow and I think the claw that you were showing with Storm Shadow the other day, the 6-inch classified kind of.
Yeah, those are the claw and the compound bow. Those are the bonus 3D parts that come in the Captain's kit.
Brilliant.
And the sprues are for if you just got the 6-inch Lieutenant kit. Which also comes in the Captain's kit.
Got you.
So basically, if you're a hardcore 6-inch collector, we got a kit for you. If you're a hardcore 4-inch collector, we got one for you. If you're both, we got that too. So, but definitely embracing the whole 6-inch stuff. There are things and surprises in the works too for some of that stuff. Like I said, Travis and I, love the classified stuff. Love what's coming out. Do recognize that there are things, I wouldn't say missing, but things to enhance and do that. And Travis is really starting to master that 3D printing technology. And so we got some really cool stuff that we're going to have at the show. He's going to be selling some really cool stuff at the show.
Awesome.
And then we are working on a couple things for the next couple shows.
Fantastic.
So we're already working on that stuff. And then, no, we are definitely, classified all the way. We love that. Love that line.
Fantastic. Right. So that's like a lot of stuff there. Is there anything else you want to talk about the actual show while you're on?
Well, actually, there's like 2 things I need to mention, maybe 3. One is Operation Longbow.
Yes.
They will be presenting. Troy and crew will be there, and they got a presentation set up where they'll be revealing some new concepts. They'll be giving an update on what's coming up, and maybe I could be speaking out of hand. They might have a couple things to feel in touch. So, really, really looking forward to seeing how that's. I mean, what kind of progress has been made since the last time they showed stuff, which was Joe Fest in June, July, June. And sounds like they got a lot of stuff working on. And then their partnership with the Roboskull, which we will have Skeletron and Roboskull there, so you can actually play with the prototype. Oh. Well, I'm sorry. Look at the prototype, play with the prototype, whatever.
I'm so mad we can't make it to the show for that reason alone, honestly.
Oh.
Being involved with that project and then not being able to touch it is very sad indeed.
It's got to be killing you. It's got to be. Yeah. Well, it is fun too, because like this will be my second time to interact with it. I'm super happy about that. Like that's super exciting, and just love seeing how far they've gone, how incredible that Kickstarter is going, and just kind of not having as much of a depth involvement with it as you have, but having to see in the window as it has been cooking. It has been great to see how this comes along. And so, yeah, super, super duper excited.
Take loads of pictures of you playing with it and send them to me just to rub it in. I expect that
we'll
fully.
Probably take a video of me breaking it. Like, what does this do?
Yeah, just throw it off the roof to see if it flies, that kind of stuff.
How well does it glide? Yeah.
Not very well.
Oh, yeah.
But no,
I think it would be
awesome.
A lot of people crying. Yeah.
Including myself.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. So, anything else you need to say for the show?
I think, what am I missing here? Oh, it's free.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of important. It's Saturday. It starts at 9 o'clock. We start off with cereal and cartoons. So come grab a bowl of cereal, watch some old school Joe shows.
Do you have any special cereal boxes you've made for this one this year?
Oh, I don't. We talked about it, and we thinking what we're going to keep is those special cereal boxes for the armor events. So
cool.
We're going to start separating a few things out and kind of organizing it a little bit differently. So keep some special over here and some special over there.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So again, show floor completely free on Saturday. Come check it out. There's raffle prizes. Just by coming through and checking in at the desk, you get a ticket for the grand prize, which I guess I can say now. I guess we know what it is now.
What is it?
So it is a collection of carded Ninja Force figures.
Wow.
So, that's one thing we like to do is like make sure that our prize is something really cool that fits with the theme. And so we lined up.
The Tiger Force one was pretty impressive as well, where you had like literally a lot of Tiger Force vehicles and figures.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So these will all be carded figures. I'm not exactly sure if we got the entire run yet, but we've got an impressive amount of the run. So, it's a sight to see. I'm excited.
All of the unreleased Ninja Commandos in there as well. Could you imagine?
God, yeah, wouldn't that be great? That'd be great. We're going to be giving away Chris Murray's 2-up of hand-painted 2-up of Nunchuck. That's the grand prize. Yeah.
Amazing.
Go pick anything out of the D-Class booth you want.
Mate, you'd have everyone turn up for the show if that was the case.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Exactly. Yeah. So no, and there's more. I mean, we're going to have the vendors. We got Roma. We got Brian Kaufman coming. We've got, I'm trying to think, Aaron Ringer, who's been in a show plenty of times before. We actually got a couple guys, including me, who are selling off portions of collections.
Wow.
I'm not selling off a ton of my stuff, but I'm selling off. I'm doing a little cleanup. Got to make room for all the new classified. They're a little bit bigger. So, so there's going to be a lot of random, like a variety of everything from, your vintage loose O-rings to some new classified stuff, to, the 25th modern era and non-O-ring things. So we're a wide span of stuff. I believe we got a gentleman coming with some 12-inch figures too. So we should be doing pretty good. I don't know if anybody's doing Sigma 6 or Extreme though.
Justin won't be there then. He won't care.
Yeah, I won't worry about it.
No Sigma 6, not interested.
No. Exactly. That's why he doesn't show.
So, I mean, it's an amazing show. Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah.
November the 6th, is it?
The 6th, yes.
November the 6th. You know, get there the night before. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the evening. Enjoy the following day. It's an amazing event. Like, it's one of the... Like, I'm really, truly sad that I can't make it this year, but that's the one that Kate and I want. That's our favorite show, basically. And you know, the fact we can't be there this year sucks, but we really hope it's an amazing event. And yeah, so if you're in and around the area, if you just want to go and check it out, like Brian said, it's free on the Saturday, November the 6th. And where is it, Brian? What's the place?
You want the address? I couldn't tell you the address off the top of my head, but it is downtown Des Moines at Forte Conference Center. It is off of 3rd and between 3rd and 2nd on the west side of the river.
Awesome. So the Forte Convention Center. Did you say?
Correct.
Yeah, Forte Convention Center, Des Moines, Iowa, downtown. Check it out, guys. It's going to be awesome, and it's going to be very ninja-tastic. Yes. I'm like, what could come after that? Tastic. Just add tastic to everything. Brian, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you again and getting the updates on the show. Again, we'll keep reporting about it during the week and everything, and also we'll probably speak to Pat actually after the show and get like a rundown of how everything went. But we'd love to have you back on again pretty soon to discuss whatever the next project is, what the next thing is. That'll be fun. Yeah, plans are in the works. AR-11 is been penciled in, and Armor 3 is starting to pick up steam. So yeah, we've got some plans. Lots of plans. Awesome. Can't wait.
Lots of surprises coming up. So yeah.
Brilliant. Right then. So that brings us to the end of this. We will now ship on over back to Pat and kick out the shout outs for the end of this Full Force Freakly episode. Thank you, buddy.
Ooh, yeah.
Right, shout-outs. This has been one of the longest episodes that's ever going to be, ever. As always, big shout-out to all my family, to my wonderful wife, Kate. Love you all. Kate still hasn't posted those images of a Baroness, by the way, which is finished, completed, and over there, and looks freaking amazing. So she's going to do that later, and I'll maybe I'll throw it on here if she's allowed me to. We shall see. Guys, starting with Justin, give me a shout-out, mate.
I got to give a shout out to a local buddy of mine named Ron, who hooked me up with a Target exclusive breaker after Target.com has continually delayed. And I actually just got another email 2 days ago saying it's been delayed even further, which, I got email saying my breaker has been delayed. And then like half an hour later, got an email saying my barbecue has been shipped. So, I guess I'll take it. But, I've been kind of frustrated waiting. The pre-order process itself was nice and smooth, but the shipping has not been so smooth. But I have a local buddy who's helped me out. So shout out to him for getting that to me. Also shout out, not really to anybody in particular, but I do finally have a local Target store opening, which I'm very excited about.
Awesome.
First one ever. My daughter is actually an employee there, and we're having a sneak preview next, I think, Wednesday. We get to go in and shop before the general public shops. So I'm kind of excited to see what that experience is like at a brand spanking new Target that has never had, customers set foot in it before. So maybe I'll have some fun stuff to report after that visit next week.
Try and be the first person ever to go in there. I
already told my daughter, I said, you better put me at the head of the line and just warn people that I'm going to sprint for the action figures. Dad,
you'll get there.
My dad, you're not going to buy toys, are you?
You'll get there and it'll be empty. It'll all be empty, and you'll be like, probably. They've just modelled it on every other Target in the country. Amazing. Pat, any shout outs for you, my man?
Shout out to Philip. He managed to help me decorate for Halloween with a droid.
Oh my god, nice. That is adorable. That is adorable. Where's that sold? I've not seen that anywhere.
That is from Disney Parks.
I'm gonna say, now that the pandemic's a little bit better, is he going to Disney like every week again, or every few days again, or?
I think that he found that on one of his first trips back. I don't know how many times he's been back. Maybe twice since they.
Gotcha.
He's got like a season pass or something, hasn't he? Or like a lifetime lifetime achievement award. I don't know what that means. Yeah, but he seems to always be there. I love his videos from the park though. They're great.
Awesome. It's a lot of. It looks like a lot of fun. I need to make it over that way to that one myself. I've never been to Disneyland. I've been to Disney World, never to Disneyland. I
was really hoping Disney would buy would buy Hasbro so that we could have like a G.I. Joe theme park. But
yeah, he also sent me a haunted mansion that I need to build, like one of those metal ones that I have to get the correct tools and build that. So,
those metal ones are the hardest, man. I have like a couple of Star Wars ones. I did the X-Wing, and the hardest bit was curling the engines into like a friggin' like cylinder. Oh, really? My goodness, that was difficult. Yeah, but it's fun. But it took me like 6 months to make, because I just kept like doing a little bit and then myself, then going, I'm going to break this or mess it up or get it wrong. It just took so long to do, but it looks great. I love those little metal kind of like, they like come in like flat packs, don't they? And you just kind of poke them all out, and it's so not for kids. Like, it would take months for them to do that. It took me plenty. Any other shout outs, buddy?
No, that's it.
Okay, screw everyone else. Also to Brian Sauer for the new Tiger Force, for the new Halloween graphics. Ooh, look, Justin showing us.
That's why I didn't dress in costume. I knew Brian had it covered.
Yeah, he made us look as scary as possible. Thank you, Brian, and obviously a shout out to Brian who jumped on and talked to us all about Assembly Required. So I don't have to now. Roboskull updates, guys. Let's talk about the insane Skeletron Roboskull. So the Elite Flight Stand stretch goal was unlocked in the time that we've been away, and the lads have been doing all sorts of crazy stuff. They went to Nerding Out Con in Rochester, Minnesota, revealed some pretty cool things as well, and also while they were there, spoke to Jay from Jay and Silent Bob, aka Muse, Jay Muse, which was hilarious. He's done a video and he's like playing with the Roboskull and just, snoochy booching and all sorts. It's brilliant. You'll love it. And they also revealed the friggin' helmets and secondaries for the 6-inch character kit stretch goal, including a cheeky head sculpt in there as well from, you may recognise the person, you may not recognise the person, but we'll find out who it is officially when we speak to the guys on the next interview, which isn't actually, I think we're speaking to Bob Breakin and Ben next week, so look out for that. That's going to be a lot of fun, and some cool stuff to be revealed there. But guys, what are we at the moment? They are at
only 300,000 over goal. That's all.
Oh yeah, so $382,538. They are closing in yet again on another of their extended stretch goals, which I believe, because too much on this page now, it's ridiculous, which is obviously the 396,000 6-inch Marauder Pilot character kit, which allows you to upgrade some of your Wolf Troopers if you get like a 5-pack of Wolf Troopers at the 6-inch size. And you can change them to be Blood Wolf or Weasel pilots. So that's really, really cool. Obviously, the one after that is 446,000, which is the Total Roboskull Deluxe hardcover book by Brian Hickey and Paddy Lennon, which I really hope they reach that, because that's going to be incredible. And obviously a couple more there as well. You've got the 4-inch Marauder Skeletron and the 6-inch Marauder Skeletron at 496 and 546. So if they get to that, which we've got the back end of the Kickstarter to come, which again has always been a very historically ridiculous couple of days, hasn't it? So yeah, fingers crossed we reach those. I think they can. They have made a... I mean, what do you guys think of this? Justin, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about Skeletron.
Yeah, it's blown me away, to be honest with you. I mean, I just the kind of the presentation they've done, sort of the execution of it has been fantastic. I'm really impressed kind of how well the public has sort of come together and supported it, because it's obviously Roboskull is kind of its own unique sort of emblem. It's got its own place in pop culture history, but it is still, I mean, it's a little obscure. I mean, not your run-of-the-mill people are going to really know about it, but I think this has really helped get some visibility. I've seen a lot of conversation on Twitter about, excited about seeing this and being like, what is up with this? And then getting linked back to the old Action Force toy and the animated cartoon that features it, and being like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. That plus, the way they're aligning with Marauder. I mean, the fact that they're using this Kickstarter as sort of the official announcement of Marauder 6-inch figures, it's pretty amazing.
Crazy.
I just think it's hitting all the right notes. It's got a nice homage to a vintage vehicle. It's got a lot of nice new modernization to it. The figure, it's just, I think they've really hit it out of the park in pretty much all aspects. The presentation's been very professional.
Yeah.
The video narrator's a little obnoxious.
Oh,
but
for
I think
goodness sake, you were doing so well. And then you had to crush me and my dreams, didn't you?
Yeah. No, don't listen to me. But no, they just did a bang up job, soup to nuts. So I think it's shown in the funding. I mean, almost $400,000 at this point. Amazing.
I could do with that. I could do that just for these pre-orders this week.
Come on, Ben.
Yeah,
screw tooling. Just float us some.
Give us some cash for all these
some
pre-orders.
Roboskull money.
Classified, O-Ring, HasLab, Super 7 Ultimates. I mean, come on, this is getting ridiculous.
Silverhawks Wave 2 I just pre-ordered, and I mean...
Gargoyles keep revealing things. What's that about? Got another couple of gargoyle reveals in the last, which again
it's
is...
toys that I've been dreaming about for 30 years, but it's like, draining the wallet a little bit. And the shelf space.
Big time. Pat, I mean, have you got anything to add on the Skeletron? I know you hate everybody that's involved in it, including me.
I was just really blown away, actually. I knew that this was going to do well and that it was going to fund. I had no idea it was going to fund as fast as it did and how far it is blown past that original goal. I think that this one is an interesting one just to even watch as it ends. I'm going to be curious on that final day. I'm just going to be sitting there refreshing and watching the page as more money goes up. I mean, I don't know what this one's going to end at. I'm really wondering. 7
million, do you reckon? It was quite funny when if you ever go on is it Kick Track or something like that, where it kind of shows you Kickstarters.
I was actually just thinking that I should type that in to look at what it's
early on. I had a look at that and I saw where it was because it gives you what they're doing currently, but then as it trends, what they would make if it continued doing that. After the first 2 days, it was up to $2.8 million. Was if it kept going like that, that's how much it would make at the end of the. Obviously, that isn't the case with Kickstarters, but it's an interesting thing to look at. And that whole page, you think you post the URL for the Kickstarter into it, and it just kicks out all this amazing analytics. So
trending for 740.
Yep,
there you go. 740. Yeah.
Well, right. Put it this way: the fact that it's been doing steady numbers day in, day out. That's the most surprised I've been about it, because usually Kickstarters literally fall off a cliff and go really low, almost zero on some days. So the fact that they've been doing they've churned over minimum 10 Gs a day, haven't they? It's freaking mental. So that's. If they can do that, then great, good on them. But if not, it's still been a really hugely successful campaign.
They have almost 2 weeks left, I think. Is that right? There's almost 2 weeks left.
15 days, 15 days.
Jeez. I've got my work cut out for me then to get that interview edited. Anyway, big shout out to Ben and Mark and all of the team at Skeletron. Right, what did I get in this week? I got in Mini-Mates, lads. Have you seen these? Yeah, have they come for you? Did you go in for them at all?
Mine have shipped. I have not.
I don't have mine in hand yet.
No. They sent it to me because influencer. That's a
You're
joke.
Actually important.
I'm a VIP. The P stands for pillock.
I was going to say penis, but
I know you were going to say that.
I will take any excuse to say that.
Of course. They're really cute though. I'm really into those little mini mates. So happy to get those in. Thank you very much, DST, Diamond Select Toys. Eric Aranya. Oh my god, I've got to get it.
Who?
Eric Aranya.
Who's that?
Eric Aranya.
Are you get him?
Yeah, you got him there? He's gonna pick him up and carry him over. under one arm.
He's on the shelf. That's how big Chris's collection has gotten.
Yeah.
Eric Aranya just has to sit there.
Right, so I bought Eric Aranya. No, Eric Aranya allowed me to purchase one of his beautiful Ninja Force custom classified figures. And he's done a lot of them. They're all stunning. He's been posting pictures of them. And I was over at Boss Fight the other day and we were going through them. He was taking pictures of them and he said, you can pick one, anyone you want, and you know, you can have it. I was like, for lots of money.
Oh, have it. I thought you made
of...
it sound like he gave you the privilege of buying it. It's like, you can have anyone, just give me the money. And
exactly.
You had no choice. You couldn't leave until you bought something. Yeah.
And I went for Zartan.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's nice.
Isn't he wicked?
Very wicked. That is awesome. I love the Mohawk. He did a great job.
The leggies, the gear. It's really, really cool. I'm loving this. So thank you, Eric, for allowing me the privilege to buy him. No, but yeah, love it. It's amazing, and it's an awesome addition now to my classified shelf. Well, let's move on to the last point we wanted to make. Jeffrey Veregge. We're going to put a link down in the description below for his GoFundMe page. The artist who's done multiple things on G.I. Joe on different comic book covers, but then also he did the art for Spirit, Iron Knife, and the new classified line, is going through some very, very difficult stuff health-wise, and his wife has set up a GoFundMe page, and it's not very positive reading, honestly. It's really upsetting, but we're going to put the link in there below if you want to kind of help them out. Try and get them through this horrible situation, which I won't go into details with right now, but he's not doing very well effectively. He's in hospital currently, and yeah, it's one of those things that we've been kind of monitoring on a daily basis, just kind of concerned with how that's going on. And obviously we wish him and his family all the best. We hope they can get through this, maybe with a little bit of help as well financially. They can, that can help get through some of this kind of horrible stuff at the moment. So big shout out to Jeffrey Veregge. I know, Justin, that was something you wanted to kind of mention as well on here. So it's out there, and check out the description below and maybe donate, do something for his situation, because it's really rough. Like I said, you have our thoughts, you have our our love, regards, all sorts, and hopefully we'll get. That will help get some money going into it as well. So fingers crossed. All the best there. Right. Okay. Finally then, of course, we continue to support the LGBTQ plus community. And as always, stand fast with the Asian and Pacific Islander communities in saying stop Asian hate. We do not discriminate against any minority and want the show to be a fun and safe environment for anybody, no matter their background. And to all our patrons, listeners and viewers, thank you so much. We hope you've enjoyed the longest frigging episode ever of the Full Force Freakly. Thank you guys for jumping on. I really appreciate it. Justin, I know you need to get away pretty soon. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you jumping on.
Thank you guys very much. Good talking to you.
Lies. That brings us to the end of this rather terrifying episode. Thank you for watching the Full Force Freakly. Massive thank you to my awesome co-hosts, Pat, Mirror Universe, Notpicard, Stewart, and Justin, Generals Hell. See you next time, and as always, 1, 2, 3, Full Force! Not bad, not bad. Woo! So scary. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/The Full Force, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.